Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, still high off that Eagles pack that we smoked the other night. And it's about time to turn the page. But before we do, had a chance to watch the film. And if you're a member of the mob, no matter the level, okay, bronze, silver, gold, I made it available for every single member of the mob this week as just a bit of a celebratory type of thing where I'm just amped. Everybody can get some of this one. So I opened it up to every member of the mob. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, please, by all means, feel free to indulge. But went over the film and we'll get into some upon further review. So upon further review, that was the most complete game that we've played this season. But not only was it the most complete game we've played this season, because it's the only game we've played where we've played all four quarters and been competent in all four quarters and scored in all four quarters. And I made a point of emphasis to talk about this yesterday. 5 straight possessions we scored touchdowns in. Tressway did not punt until the 7-minute mark of the fourth quarter. It was a masterpiece of a performance and a game plan and execution. Again, there were some things in there that you got to clean up. We were not perfect, but that is the closest we've come to looking like a real, serious, competitive football team that is capable of doing damage, not just in the regular season, but as we know, I've talked about this ad nauseum. The NFC is wide open. We just played the 2 best teams, quote unquote, in the conference. Okay. We just did that. And we should have beaten both of them. Had one down by 10 in the fourth quarter with 10 minutes to go, and had the other down pretty much the entire game. Once we took the 17-14 lead in the second quarter, we never relinquished it. We never trailed in that game again. We dominated the Philadelphia Eagles. They had their opportunities. We took them from them. We took those opportunities from them. But this was the biggest win of the Rivera era here in Washington. That's how big of a win that was. In his 3 years here, this is the biggest win that he's had. Bigger than the Steelers win in 2020. Bigger than any win we had in 2020. Okay? And yeah, the Cowboys Thanksgiving game, that was nice. That was fun. Okay? That felt great too. That felt similar to this. However, the Cowboys weren't undefeated. The Cowboys weren't even good in 2020. That was Andy Dalton at quarterback. While it was gratifying to embarrass them on national television on Thanksgiving in their building, it wasn't this, okay? Understand that we were 11-point underdogs in this game. And we went in with a game plan. We executed that game plan, and we didn't stop executing that game plan. We forced turnovers. We made long field goals. We ran it 49 times. We converted 12 of 21 third downs. We were 2 of 3 in the red zone. Should have been 3 of 3 in the red zone. When opportunities were presented to us, we took advantage. And when we needed to make plays and make stops, we did it. Upon further review, Brian Robinson isn't completely healthy. He said as much after the game in the locker room, said, I'm not 100% healthy, which we all know to be the case. I talked about this last week. I said, look, Brian Robinson isn't healthy yet. He doesn't look like the guy that we saw in the Panthers game in the preseason, the Chiefs game in the preseason, the guy that had us hyped for what he could bring to this offense. He hasn't looked like that guy yet. Monday night's game is the closest we've seen to him getting back to that. He was really good in that game on Monday night. And the statistics don't tell the story. I think Ron has done a great job of laying that out, how there were a number of 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 type runs where he just needed to get the first down. We weren't looking to have a 4 or 5 yard gain. You'd like to, but the emphasis on that particular carry was put your head down. Don't look for any hole. Put your head down and get 1 yard. Move the sticks. So it brought his average down. Same thing down around the goal line. You're getting a 1 yard touchdown run. You're getting a 2 yard touchdown run. Not going to help your average any. Who cares? You got in the end zone, right? So both backs can attest to that. But Robinson in particular, because he had some good hits in the run game. He had a number of 4 and 5s. There was the 11-yard run. That was the biggest run of the night by any person that touched the football in a rushing capacity, where he drug literally, and I show it on the film, he drug 3 or 4 Eagle defenders by himself. Normally when a guy drags for, additional 3 or 4 yards after initial contact, it's because there's a lineman or a tight end or someone pushing him along and helping him, and he's continuing to churn his legs, and he's able to pick up some extra. He did that by himself. That touchdown run with a little bit of help from Sam Cosmi, but him continuing to push and then stretching the ball out, that's special. He was outstanding. Gibson was really good as well. I love the mixture of Curtis Samuel. I've talked about this already. Curtis Samuel in the run game is a big help to this offense. And to me, it's absolutely necessary. We're not a good enough run team to just rely on Gibson and Robinson by themselves. You have to infuse Curtis Samuel in the run game as well. Did a good job of doing that on Monday night as well. Upon further review, Terry is that dude. I don't need to say that. He is him. We know this. It's always good to get confirmation, though. Always good to get that confirmation. And we know we all, as fans, we play the Terry doesn't get enough respect card. Right now, Terry McLaurin is 7th in the NFL in receiving yards. Yes, 7th. For all of those people who said, oh, he's not a top 10 receiver. And we've argued back and forth. And I've always said he's somewhere in that top 12. He could easily end up in your top 10, but he's no further out than 12 to me. I can't think of 11 guys, 12 or 13 guys better than Terry McLaurin in the league at the receiver position. I can't. There are guys that are close, and that's when you're splitting hairs, and then it becomes preference, bias, all of that good stuff. All of that starts to get entered into the conversation. But I'm glad he got to do it on a stage like Monday night. And I've come to the conclusion, and I can't confirm nor deny this, but I've come to the conclusion that just about the entire league, specifically the NFC, was rooting for us on Monday night. I can't tell you how many fans of different fan bases said, hey, we were watching and we were rooting for you guys. I'm glad you beat the Eagles. Seems like they've annoyed just about every fan base in the NFL. So everybody was watching. And that's a part of the East Coast bias, which is why it doesn't matter how bad these teams stink in our division, which we don't anymore, but you're always going to get the Giants on 3 times a year. You're going to get the Eagles on 2 or 3 times. Dallas is going to be on 5 times. And even when we suck, they're going to give us 2 spots, because usually one of those is going to come against one of the teams in the division. Why? Because we move the needle. Not us necessarily, but the division, the East Coast, moves the needle in particular. Upon further review, Derek Forrest played his ass off in this game. And I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but this was the first game where they really put him in that safety, that free safety role, and kind of just turned him loose. And they moved him around. They always do, okay? But this was the first game where I really saw Bobby McCain being pushed down into the slot like, hey, Bobby, hey, we love you. We want to keep you on the field as well. But we got to have Derek back there. He's just better. Like, they've come to the realization that Derek Forrest can do things that Bobby McCain and Cam Curl and any other safety for that matter on this team, they just aren't capable of doing. The only other guy that's probably athletically capable of doing it is Percy Butler, and he's not ready. He's not ready to do any of the things that Derek Forrest is doing right now. So Derek Forrest, what I saw on film from Derek Forrest was that of the makings of a Pro Bowl caliber safety on some Kevin Byard type shit. You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? He's got the ability in a year or two from now to be a guy that has 5-6 interceptions on the year and is a game changer. He's got that kind of ability. And so it's good. It's fun watching him mature. He's got more work to do, more on-the-job training to come. But the more he plays, the more confidence he gains. And I think the more dangerous he becomes. So that's fun to watch right now. Same with Benjamin St-Juste. I think he's gaining more and more confidence with every game that passes, with every big-time receiver that's put in front of him. He's gaining more and more confidence. Upon further review, Rio said this on the stream we had last night, but it seems to be ringing true. And now that I think about it and I go back in my mind, this seems to be the case. Kendall Fuller plays better as the season wears on. I don't know what it is that, you know, what it is about his game that ages well throughout the course of a season. But I'm just thinking about back in my mind to last season and the struggles of the defense and how we struggled in the secondary in particular and how Kendall Fuller struggled last year very early on in the season. And as the season wore on, he got better. He started to play better. As he played better, William Jackson III played better. The secondary as a whole played better. The defense played better. He's starting to play like the Kendall Fuller that I've come to know and love. You know I'm a Kendall Fuller apologist. I've been all season long. I couldn't vouch for him. Week after week after week after week, he's getting torched and getting destroyed. I couldn't continue to vouch for him. I always tell guys that become pariahs within the fan base, hey, give me something to work with. They've got pitchforks and torches. They're looking for your head on a stick. I'm keeping them at bay, but you got to give me something. I told Joey Slide the same thing. I used to always tell Dustin Hopkins the same thing. Give me something I can work with. I can protect you, but I can't if you continue to give them more fuel for the fire that they've got on those torches. I can't protect you. Well, he's playing ball now. So you're starting to see fans ease up a bit. He was great in the game on Monday night. That entire secondary really played well. The Eagles had no standouts. They made their fair share of plays. But they had no standouts in that game. Nobody killed us. There wasn't any 100-yard receivers. Nobody had a career night like the first time when we played them. Everything was relatively modest. Jalen Hurts numbers, relatively modest. And upon further review, it feels so good. It feels good. Yeah. It feels good when there are so many different streaks and you snap each and every single one of them. Eagles, obviously, undefeated. 8-0 coming into the game. That's dead, right? Jalen Hurts had won 11 consecutive regular season starts dating back to last season. So the final 3 games of last year, plus the first 8 of this season. That shit's dead. It's done. Snap that as well. Jalen Hurts had not thrown an interception in like 171 passing attempts. Hadn't thrown an interception since like week 2 of the season or something like that. I think his last interception he threw was against Jacksonville. When was the Jacksonville game? When did they play Jacksonville? Like week 5, maybe? Whenever it was, whenever they played Jacksonville, That was the last time he threw an interception. That's dead. Okay, we snapped that as well. That was the longest streak in the NFL this season to this point. That's dead. So I love it. Eagles came into the game with one of the best turnover ratios and the fewest turnovers through the first 8 games of any team in NFL history. Well, that's dead. They only had turned it over 3 times in the first 8 games. Dead. Dead, I tell you. Now they're at 7. They look like a regular-ass NFL team, like everybody else. Ran the ball on them to the point, embarrassed them, emasculated them to the point where they went out and signed Linval Joseph. Now, look, we weren't the first team to run the ball on them. Okay, I'm not going to make it seem like we did that by ourselves. We put the exclamation point on it, though. Okay. The Eagles defense became a run-on sentence joke, run-wise. All right. Everybody was getting a turn. And what we did was we put the exclamation point on the fact that they couldn't stop the run. And again, it wasn't anything egregious in terms of 12 here, 7, 15, 8, 4, 4, 27. Nah, it wasn't explosive and dynamic. We bled them out. You know what is the worst? We've experienced this as fans. I don't know. Some of you may not be old enough to remember. You know, some of you you're relatively new in the Washington, fandom game. And so you don't have as much skin in the game as some of us. Some have way more skin in the game than myself, but there was a game on a Sunday night versus the Dallas Cowboys back in like 2008, we'll call it. We got shut out by the Cowboys 16-0. And the game was still in the balance. I think the Cowboys might have been up I think they were up at that time, maybe like 9-0. Game wasn't quite over yet. You're down 2 scores, so you need to stop. And Marion Barber proceeded to run the football down our throats for about 6 minutes by himself. May he rest in peace. It was some of the toughest football to watch when your team is getting gutted on the ground and there is nothing you can do about it. And at some point, you're like, just put me out of my misery. Bust off a 27-yard touchdown run and end this shit, please. No, it's worse when you take a 3, then they convert on 3rd down, a 4, a 5, then they run it again on 3rd and 1, convert for 1st down. Another 3, they convert on 1st down. A 4, they run it on 3rd and 2 and they convert, another 1st down. 5, 4, they run it on 3rd down, get another 1st down. Then you take another 4-piece. And it's just, oh my God, they are bludgeoning us to death with the run game. And you're just sitting there watching your manhood be snatched from you in front of your face. And there's nothing you can do. And it's piece by piece, bit by bit. That's what we did to the Eagles. We took their confidence. We took their swagger. We took their manhood. And we took it from them slowly, bit by bit, piece by piece. So much so they went out and signed Linval Joseph. I found that funny. Charge that to our account, along with all the other charges that the Eagles have right now that they're trying to figure out what the hell, where did this charge come from? Put it on our account. Where did this loss come from? Charge it to our account. Damn, we got 7 turnovers now? Yeah, charge that to our account. We did that. Upon further review, the offensive line actually was good last night. I would venture to say it was their best game. Yep, they gave up the sack, forced fumble on the initial drive of the game. But really, it was a clean ball game. From that point forward, they had a great plan. One of the things we've complained about with this staff is they don't make adjustments. After that sack was given up, and they did not do this the entire night. They did not have to do this the entire night. But what they did do was they made sure to chip on the way out. Hey, Logan, you're going out for a pass. Before you go, get a piece of that defensive end, will you? Thanks. Appreciate you. Hey, Brian Robinson, you're going out for a pass, right? Before you do, just get a little piece of that defensive end, man, on your way out. All right? Sweet. Peachy. Amani, you're going out for a pass, right? Yeah. Okay. Before you go, get a piece of that end. Just get a little bit of his ribs. Yeah. Good. Good job. And we did that to the point where they started looking for dudes. They started looking for the chipper. And then we didn't have to chip anymore. Guys got settled in. And even on the sack that they had in the red zone, and I still was upset at Scott Turner watching it over again. We should have just kept running the ball. Why did you stop? Gibson ran it all the way down to the 3. It's 2nd and goal from the 3. Why do you feel the need to get creative? He did the same thing against the Steelers last year, if you remember. We ran it all the way down to the 1, and then he lost his mind and decided to throw it on 3 straight plays, including 4th down. Luckily enough for us, TJ Watt got called for holding. It gave us a fresh set of downs. The first play on the fresh set of downs, he runs it with Peyton Barber. We scored a touchdown. Why did we stop running again? When did the Eagles stop us from getting in the end zone in the red zone? On the ground? Both of our touchdowns on the ground in the red zone, mashed it down their throat. Why are you stopping at the 3 on 2nd and goal? We ran it all the way from like the 14 down to the 6. Then Antonio Gibson's first carry is down to the 3. Why did you stop? But even with that said, on 3rd down, Gibson's open and Curtis Samuel's open. And you could blame pressure. He could have gotten rid of the football to either one of those guys for a touchdown. An easy walk-in touchdown at that. He panicked. He panicked. And yes, there was pressure. I'm not saying that there wasn't pressure on the play. There was pressure. But he could have, just like the play where Hargraves beats Tyler Larson immediately off the snap on a 3rd down. And he stands in there, flat-footed, finds Curtis Samuel over the middle of the football field for a big gain and a 1st down. He could have stood in there like a big boy, delivered it to Antonio Gibson or Curtis Samuel, who's right in front of his face, and he'd had a walk-in touchdown. But he panicked. Thought the offensive line was really good in this game. Good. They weren't great in the run game. They were solid. Rock solid in the run game. And they were really good in the pass game. Upon further review, Scott Turner deserves some credit. I'm not the biggest Scott Turner hater. A lot of you are. I'm not. I have not been pleased with Scott Turner this year. Very, very much so disappointed in his performance as a coordinator this year. You know, I've been much more of a Scott Turner proponent than detractor. But this year, he's been really bad at times, you know, and I don't think he's done a great job of adjusting to the talent and maximizing what we have on this football team. That said, I thought he did a really good job against the Philadelphia Eagles of mixing up things. In the moment, watching the game live, it felt like a lot of 1st down runs. 1st and 2nd down runs, for that matter. Going back and watching the film, there were a lot of 1st down play action passes that actually worked. You know, I thought he did a good job of mixing it up, not being overly predictable. Yeah, we wanted to run, and we made that a point of emphasis, but we used the run. And I thought he did a good job of getting under center as well. Like, we need to do that more. That outside zone under center sets up beautiful play action fake. Because nobody respects our gun fakes. Okay? Our gun play action fake, dead. Okay? Nobody respects that. So when we get under center and we hand it off and then they go heavy play action fake under center, those are the ones that have a chance to. That's the one that Terry had the big 41-yard catch on. Was under center, outside zone, play action fake, max protect, 2-man show. Don't know what the hell the safety was doing. Epps, he fell asleep behind the wheel. I guess he thought, oh, Darius got him. Okay, we'll see about that. And he got cooked. Speaking of which, Upon further review, I got two. You guys were right in the MOBB. A lot of you, and I was adamant about this. That delay of game that we took when Curtis Samuel took the direct snap from the center and was taken off, a lot of you was like, man, that was a great play call. Sucks that we didn't get to use it. That's a great play call by Scott Turner. And I kept saying, and I was adamant, that wasn't a play call. Like, he just ran across the formation while the ball was being snapped, and he just looked up and like, oh, nah. Curtis was looking for that football. He slowed down and intentionally caught that ball. That was a direct snap to Curtis Samuel. You know, Scott gets real creative on 4th and 1. Normally. I won't say all the time because there's the Colts game when he didn't get creative. I thought he got too creative against Minnesota, you know, but that's when he likes to go in his bag. The Amani Rodgers jet sweep was on a 4th down. We tend to give it to Curtis Samuel a lot on these jet sweeps and things of that nature on these 4th downs. He likes to go in his bag on 4th and 1. He was going in his bag. That was definitely an orchestrated Curtis Samuel direct snap. I stand corrected. I watched it like 6 times on film, went back and said, no, ain't no way. Curtis slowed down and he was looking. When you're going in motion, you're not looking for the football. You're just going in motion and you're doing your job. You're trying to get out of there so you don't have the ball hit you. He literally slowed down and was looking for the ball and caught it. That first, the second throw that Heinicke forced into double coverage to Terry. A lot of you had said, hey, if he puts that ball outside shoulder away from the safety, that's just got a chance. You guys are correct. Terry had Slade beaten like he stole something on that play. Worse than the first one, and he cooked him on the one where he caught it. He was out of sorts. Terry just had him all kinds of flustered. And don't forget, Terry also drew a penalty flag on him on a possession that gave us a free first down. Darius Slade didn't know if he was coming or going. You know, Terry had him Bazity in that game, right? If Heinicke puts that ball up the field, outside shoulder, away from the safety, that thing has a chance. He should not have thrown that football, though. That should have been Curtis Samuel over the middle of the football field. But all in all, Heinicke was really solid in this game. The 3rd down at the end of the game where he takes the knee, takes the hit, and picks up the personal foul penalty and you know, kind of helps us seal the deal. Ron kind of insinuated that he should have just thrown the ball to Terry. Terry was open, and he's like, I don't know why he didn't throw it. Slade was right there. Like, Slade was holding on to Terry. They could have easily thrown the flag for holding. He was literally, you could see him pulling the jersey to stay close. But Slade would have had a chance to break that up if he'd have thrown it to Terry. I don't think he was willing to risk not keeping the clock running and forcing the Eagles to use their final timeout. I didn't have a problem with him pulling that one down. I didn't have a problem with him pulling that down. I thought it was the right thing to do. Had Terry gotten a step on him and you're like, dude, let it go, then we would have had something to gripe about. I thought Heinicke was really sharp in this game. The interception, even though I didn't think it was the best of reads, that ball could have been thrown in there had he led him up the field and outside, just like he did on the one on the right sideline. I've said this. I'm sticking to this until he proves me wrong. He struggles throwing deep to his left. Give him a deep ball to his right, and we've seen him now twice this season drop it right in the bucket over the outside shoulder where it's supposed to go to Terry McLaurin. Did it against the Green Bay Packers for the touchdown over Jair Alexander. Did it again here against Darius Slay in this game. Outside shoulder up the field. You couldn't have walked up and handed it to him any better. It's a perfect throw. You go to the left, and you get moon balls that hang up in the air. He struggles, I think, throwing to his left deep, but that's nor here nor there. Upon further review, special teams was outstanding in this game. Outstanding. We had the one penalty, right? The one penalty on the opening kickoff where Instead of us starting at like the 33-yard line, we're starting at our own 8 to begin the game. After that, we were masterful on special teams. Tressway only punted once. That punt resulted in a fair catch at the 10-yard line. Tressway punted twice. His first punt, we covered it down there, smashed, Covey, the return man, and the Eagles had to start, deep in their own territory. The second punt was the punt at the end of the game. They fair caught it at the 10, and it was only 5 seconds left. So good. That's what you want. You don't want them starting at the 20. You want them starting at their own 10 and have to go 90 yards on a miracle play. The coverage units were outstanding on kickoffs. The Eagles did not start a possession further than the 22-yard line, and that was their first kickoff of the game. After we scored the first touchdown to tie it up at 7, we kicked it off, and he ran it back to the 22-yard line. That was the best starting field position they had after a kickoff. Obviously, if they had a touchback, which they probably had 1 or 2 in the game, they started at 25. But anything that they tried to return, we were down there and we weren't having it. Should have had a block kick. I still don't know how they let that punter get that shit off. Nobody touched Khaleke Hudson, and he went in willy-nilly. And then F.A. Obata is right there next to a kicker, and you got to kill him. At that point, he's a runner. He's no longer protected. Smash his ass. I think he was afraid that if he hit him or did something crazy to him, they were going to call roughing the kicker. Once he tucks it and runs, he's no longer protected. He should have been plastered, but he didn't do it. And he let him get it off, which really pissed me off. But I'm not 100% sure that it's not still roughing the kicker if he tries to kick it and you hit him. I just would think that he would lose protection once he leaves, sort of like a quarterback in the pocket. Once you leave the pocket, you're no longer protected by those rules that apply when you're in the pocket. I feel like it's the same thing for a kicker, but can't be too sure. I'm just upset that he was able to get a rugby-style kickoff. The good thing was he wasted time, and they had to do it again because there was a legal man downfield. But again, we forced all that. And then on the ensuing punt, Dax Milne had one of his best returns of the season, coincidentally enough. Obviously, Joey Sly, outstanding. So happy for him. NFC Special Teams Player of the Week. For those of you unaware, Joey Sly got the honor. He deserves it. 58, 55, another chip shot field goal, and made all of his extra points. He was clutch in this game. Shout out to Joey Slizzy. It was a complete performance by this football team. If we can be that football team and not the 49 carries, okay, nothing in particular in terms of, but if we can just be a complete football team consistently, despite our again, this is the year where you don't have to have an elite signal caller to get to the promised land. In past years, you have to have an elite signal caller because there was just too many. It was Rodgers. It's Brady. And there were so many guys. Russell Wilson. There was just too many guys that you were going to, Matthew Stafford. There was too many quarterbacks you were going to have to overcome to get where you ultimately wanted to go. Right now, there is no Aaron Rodgers. Brady's going to be there. You're going to probably have to get by Brady, but Brady isn't even Brady. That offense isn't what it was, under Bruce Arians. That's a different Buccaneers team this year. That's not the same Buccaneers that we saw no risk it, no biscuit the first 2 years with Bruce Arians as the head coach. It's a different Buccaneers team. Matthew Stafford and the Rams aren't going to make the playoffs this year. They suck. Russell Wilson's in Denver now. Shit, Geno Smith's playing good ball anyway. But I said all of that to say this. You don't need a future Hall of Fame quarterback or an All-Pro or even a Pro Bowl passer this year. We can go to the playoffs and do damage with Taylor Heinicke if we can just be consistent. We play like we played against Philadelphia moving forward. I'm not saying we're going to win every single game, but we'll be in every game with an opportunity to win. Again, take away the last touchdown. I've already made this point to you guys. Take away the last touchdown on the scoop and score by Casey Toohill to make it 32. We scored 26 points. If you take that 26-point performance, which is our third highest of the season, scored 28 in week 1, 27 in week 2, and this 26-point performance, again, we scored 32. But if you take away the last touchdown and it's 26 points, that would have been good for our third highest scoring output of the season. You take those 26 points and you apply them to any other game except week 1 or 2. Any of the following 7 contests, or I guess you could say 8, including Monday night. We win every single game. Every single game. If you just attach the 26 that we had on Monday night. Eagles scored 24. Cowboys scored 25. Titans scored 21. Bears scored 7. Packers scored 21. Colts scored 16. Vikings scored 20. Eagles just scored 21. You take those 26 points and we win every single game. So all I'm saying is we don't have to be this dynamic and explosive offense like the Kansas City Chiefs and scoring up all these points, or the Miami Dolphins and scoring damn near 40 every week. Just be better than a team that's barely scoring 20 points a game. We're at 19. That 32-point performance was an offensive outburst. It upped our season average from just a shade over 17 points a game to now over 19 points a game. That's how thirsty our average was. We're giving up 21 points a game. We're scoring 19 a game. That 21 that we're giving up, that's plenty. You give up 21 a game, you should be winning a lot of football games in this league. I'm not asking for much. We're not asking for much. We're just asking for this offense to be more efficient, score more touchdowns, less field goals. And when opportunities present themselves, like Ron needs to be able to trust Joey Sly on a 56-yard field goal. Earlier in the season, he didn't have the confidence to do that. And I'm going to be honest with you, if not for the field goal before half, I'm not sure he has the confidence to send him out there for the 55-yarder later in the game. How many times have we been at the 40 this year and Ron's elected to go for it or punt? This is the first time we've had a drive stop at the 40 or the 39 or the 38, and it would have been a 55 or a 56-yard field goal. That's not the first time. Ron just didn't have confidence in Joey Sly. Maybe he does now. We'll see. Total team effort, complimentary football. That was an outstanding performance. Best of Ron Rivera's tenure here in Washington. All right. Let's go to in other news. So, heard from Ron today. Heard from Taylor Heinicke today. Got an update on Chase Young. Got an update on the quarterback position. We'll get to all of that. Let's first dive into the injury report. Let me say this before we look at it, though. Today was a walkthrough, a glorified walkthrough. Okay. Ron was taking it easy on the players, quick turnaround from a Monday night game. I think this injury report is a bit fabricated because of the quick turnaround. Remember, if anybody is feeling any kind of, having any kind of issue or feeling any kinds of aches and pains, you have to report it. Had this game been played on Sunday, I don't know if every single guy that is on this injury report is on this injury report. But because this game was played on Monday, and now you're talking about a Wednesday practice, there's some guys that needed that extra day to get themselves ready, and they're not quite there yet. So keep in mind, when looking at this list, it's much longer. Remember, I talked about, man, this is a great list. It's just very compacted, very short, probably the shortest since like week 1 or 2. We're back to having a laundry list, but keep in mind, quick turnaround. And also understand that when you see the designation, whether it's DNP, limited, or full, it's a walkthrough. So they are essentially projecting what would have been the case had this been a real practice with helmet and pads on. Okay, so keep that in mind. Let's take a look. So Cole Holcomb, Ron gave us an explanation on where he is in his process. Makes me feel a little bit better. He said Ron said that Cole went outside and ran on grass today. While everybody else was inside, he was outside running around on the grass, testing the foot out, seeing where he was. They put him under some duress, and they want to see how he responds. Okay. That's positive, because last week he was in the pool. That's not where we need to be. We don't play football in water. Okay. So now he's back out on the grass surface, testing it out. And tomorrow they want to see how his foot responds. If it swells up, if he feels discomfort, again, back to DNP and more likely out for Sunday's game. I still don't think he's going to play regardless, but we'll have a better understanding of where he is after practice tomorrow. J.D. McKissick in his neck. I'm starting to believe that J.D. McKissick may have a real issue with his neck. Remember, this is the same neck, injury that cost him the final 6 games of the season last year. And I'm starting to think he may have his career cut short due to this neck thing. Like, this is scary. When you start talking, remember, Chris Samuels had stenosis of the neck, which is the narrowing of the spine. We start talking about necks, hey, it's time to hang the shit up, right? Like, we don't play around with neck injuries. So we got to be cautious. We'll see what happens with JD, but we're not even getting updates about him. So I don't even know if he's even close. And remember, he missed 6 games at the end of the season last year. He's been wearing that little neck thing around his neck that you see players wear who have had some issues. They wear that little neck thing. He's been wearing that all season. So I'm not too positive right now on JD McKissick's return anytime soon. I'm thinking more along the lines of post-bye, somewhere later in the season, if at all. The positive thing is they haven't put him on IR yet, but that could be coming. You know what I mean? Tyler Larson, I got to commend him for the effort he put in. He was not 100%, and he still went out there and gave us a Ullman-like effort, lunch pail, hard hat type of effort. I salute Tyler Larson because, to me, right now, he is one of the biggest pieces on this offensive line. I do not want to see Nick Martin out there. I do not, I don't even know if Wes Schweitzer is healthy or not. I do not want Wes Schweitzer back at center. I want Tyler Larson at center, and I want nobody else there. If it ain't Chase Roullier, it needs to be Tyler Larson. So I really commend him for playing. All of a sudden, I didn't know if you guys knew this. I didn't know this, but Andrew Norwell had a groin that showed up randomly at the end of the week. So he was a guy that we had to watch, going into the game, but he played and he was fine. But it's just good to have those guys out there. We talk a lot of shit about this guy and that. We don't want to really start tapping into the reserves, though. David Mayo, hamstring, limited. Again, it's a walkthrough. Keep that in mind. But John Bostic, David Mayo. I mean, is there really a difference? Bostic's probably better in terms of athleticism, but Mayo, if you ask me, is more instinctual. Like Mayo will hit it and knife into the backfield and make a tackle for loss. John Bostic ain't making no tackles for loss because he's too damn hesitant. And I show that on film where he could go hit the hole. It's a 4th and 1, and he's waiting for the tight end to come get him. And then he dips his shoulder and makes sure that the tight end uproots him and pushes him out of the hole so that Miles Sanders gets the first down. It was embarrassing, but that's the shit that you get from John Bostic, whereas David Mayo, he's attacking. One thing I don't worry about with David Mayo is run defense. He's going to attack the line of scrimmage. So, Amani Rodgers, I told y'all last night, or, watching the film rather, but I said this in the MOBB, something's wrong with Amani Rodgers. And I pointed it out on the film. He had his ankle wrapped. I thought it was his ankle. I remember him very vividly watching this live with the MOBB, seeing him go in motion, and he was limping, and then he got knocked down on the ground on that play, and it took him a lot longer to get up than it should take him to get up if he's fine, and he wouldn't put his right foot on the ground. He's trying to get up, but he's trying to get up without applying pressure to his right leg, which is odd. So he was gutting it out. They've got his knee down. I'm not sure it's not his ankle, but they got knee down here. I hope he's okay. But we're in such a good spot tight end wise that if he can't go, Cole Turner is ready on the bench. I want to see Amani Rodgers, though. I've taken a strong liking to Amani Rodgers. I'd like him to continue to play because the only way he's going to get better is by continuing to get reps. So we'll see about him. Curtis Samuel's shin, I get nervous anytime 10 shows up on the injury report. But again, I think that shin might be more of a byproduct of this is a Wednesday practice after a Monday game. We'll see. Hopefully there's nothing really there to that with Curtis Samuel. Logan Thomas, ribs, limited. He's had an assortment of ailments, over the last 2 years. If it's not one thing, it's another with him. I think he's going to be fine. He's a tough guy. Ribs, we'll see. But again, I'm hoping I'm chalking up a number of these. Curtis Samuel and Logan Thomas in particular, I'm chalking that up to just an extra, 1 day less of recovery. I'm hoping that as we get further into the week, we start to see some fulls out of these dudes, and they're fine. Antonio Gibson, I saw something either today or yesterday. I think it was today. I saw something that said his injury was not as serious as, thought to be initially. And so he was a full participant today. That's great news. I thought it was an ankle initially when it happened. And when they showed the replay, you could see the defender falling on his ankle. And I told the mob, if you've played sports and you've suffered an ankle injury, as long as it's not a severe ankle sprain, and I've had every grade of ankle sprain that is, possible. I've had, the mild grade 1. I've had the grade 3 where your damn bone touches the ground, where the shit swells up immediately and looks like a damn balloon. So if you have one of those grade 1s, you're going to finish the game. The adrenaline is going to get you through the game. You'll be fine. You're going to wake up the next day and your shit's going to be swollen and it's going to be hard for you to move, right? But you'll be fine. It's those grade 3s and those high ankle sprains that do you in. So I thought it was his ankle. They got knee down here and he's full. Hey, whatever. I still think it was his ankle. I still think it's Amani Rodgers' ankle. They just got knee. That's fine. Because you don't have to necessarily disclose. You can just say, leg or knee, but it could be his ankle. Whatever the case may be, he was full today. Again, walkthrough. Understand that. Jonathan Williams, knee, full, walkthrough. Keep that in mind as well. All right, so now we go from Washington to the Texans, and they've got a laundry list of injuries as well. Mario Addison rests, so we won't even worry about him. Defensive end. Malik Collins, chest. That's a big-time player for them on the defensive line. Got him in free agency from Dallas a couple of years ago. Really good football player. If he can't go, that's a good plus for us, especially being that the Texans are one of the worst rush defenses in football. That'll hurt him if he can't play. Brandon Cooks, hip and wrist. He played last week, but he did not play against the Eagles. He wanted to be traded. They were working some things out, but he played against the Giants. We'll see if and keep in mind, they didn't have a walkthrough today. This is real practice for them because they didn't play on Monday. They played on Sunday. So this is a normal work week for the Texans. So Cooks, again, always remember, if you're going to have a guy sit out of a practice, Wednesday is that day. Okay, because that's the install day. You just need them to be mentally locked in. Thursday and Friday, you want to see guys actually physically be able to do it. So if Cooks doesn't go tomorrow, now we got a story on our hands because he's their best receiver by far. He doesn't play. I feel even better about our opportunity to go in there and take care of business and not even allow it to be close. He plays. He makes a difference. Okay. Neville Hewitt, hamstring. Anytime you see hamstring in a DNP, that's always tough because hamstrings are tough. So Jerry Hughes rest. So we're not going to, name him. He's been playing really good football. He's still getting it done. Okay? Almost like, Robert Quinn, like 2 years ago, where he found the fountain of youth. And you're like, what the hell is Robert Quinn doing with 18 sacks, at like 80 years old? Jerry Hughes is playing ball, man. So I worry about him. He's not even on the injury report for real because he's just got rest. Dare O. I used to know how to say his name. I don't know why I'm blanking on it, but he's a running back, DMP foot, not really a big contributor. Anyway, their bell cow is their rookie, Damian Pierce. Nico Collins, groin limited. He's a big factor for their offense. He's a big target for them. If he can't go, that's a big plus for us as well. Kenyon Green, a rookie offensive guard that they drafted out of Texas A&M. He's got a shoulder. He's going to probably play. Limited. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on him. Christian Kirksey, neck, limited. We'll keep an eye on him. He's the starting linebacker for them. Jalen Reeves-Maybin, groin limited. He is a very good piece at the linebacker position. I'll keep an eye on that during the week. And then their big-time rookie corner, Derek Stingley Jr., hamstring. That's something to keep an eye on. Anytime you hear hamstring, you always want to be wary of that. But limited makes me feel like he has a chance to play, so we will see. All right. So, heard from Ron today. And the first thing I was wondering, I think most people were wondering, what are you going to do at quarterback? All right, don't beat around the bush. Let's hear it. So he started with a Carson Wentz update because if Wentz isn't ready to go, it's a moot point. We don't need to discuss anything. You just go with Taylor Heinicke. We're always going to know what the situation is by Wednesday because that's the first day of practice and you want your starter getting all the reps. So again, we're not in training camp. This isn't the preseason where you're mixing it up and this guy's getting some reps. No, your starter is getting all the reps. So he said Carson has been cleared medically to start throwing the football. So that's what they're going to start doing with him, having him throw the football. And then they will see how his body responds, specifically his hand, how it responds. Does it swell up? Is there any discomfort after a day of throwing it consistently? If that is the case, where there's no pain, there's no setbacks, no swelling, nothing out of the ordinary, then they will proceed to push him a bit more, and then they'll make a decision as to whether he'll be the backup this week or not. But Ron already stated that Taylor Heinicke is the starter this week against Houston. And I think Ron said it in a way that led me to believe that this is an audition for Heinicke. I think they were going back to Carson after the Vikings game. Heinicke did not play well. I've already explained it to you. I think they were disappointed in his play because that's a game they felt like they let get away, and Heinicke's play did not help in securing that victory. And so he had to play the way that he did against Philadelphia, and we had to win in order to bring the discussion back to whether Heinicke should be the long-term guy or not. I think that Eagles' victory bought him an additional week to now audition to be the guy. I think if he goes out, because the thing that I love about, and I want to talk a little bit more about that when we get to Heinicke's presser. The thing that I love about what we saw from and what we've seen rather, and what we've heard from Rivera, Heinicke, and the other players, but specifically Rivera and Heinicke, is that, and you know when the coach has gotten a message across to his players because you hear it regurgitated over and over and over again. So that means he's pounding it into their heads. And I love it because in past years, in different regimes, this is the ultimate trap game. Big emotional win on the road, divisional opponent against the Eagles. You're on this emotional high, and you have this massive letdown on the road against a one-win Houston Texans team. We've seen it countless times as Washington fans. And Ron has been very adamant this week. Some of that is, I know Lovie Smith. You know, Ron has been adamant because I know Lovie Smith. I know he's going to have them prepared to play. I coached under him. I know what the man is about. And then you look at the Texans and how they've lost games this season, and they've been in ball games. We watched them on a Thursday night against Philadelphia. They were in that ball game. We watched them against the Giants this past week. They were in that ball game. And you've watched them throughout the season. They've been in ball games. This isn't the Texans team from last year that was losing 40-0 to the Bills on the road. No, they're in ball games this season. They're just not winning, right? So, Ron has made it a point of emphasis to say, hey, we got to be ready for these dudes, you know? And I think he wants to see Taylor Heinicke go out there, execute the game plan, be nice for him to protect the football and not throw an interception. He's thrown one in every single one of his starts. Be nice to see him take care of the football and lead us to a dominant victory on the road versus the Texans. And if he can do that, look, just to win, right? But if he can do that, if we can go to Houston and beat the Texans 27-9, 27-13, right? Dominate that game. Offense plays well, scores the ball early and often. Heinicke has one of those. I think they're looking for last year against Carolina, last year against Tampa Bay in particular. Those were two of Heinicke's better performances last year. You know, the Falcons game was an outlier. The Giants game was an outlier last year. I thought for who Heinicke is and what we asked him to do, the Buccaneers game and the Panthers game, specifically the Panthers game, he was extremely sharp, very efficient and effective. I think he only had like 4 or 5 incompletions against the Panthers. Really good football game from him in that game. And we ran it effectively. If he can go out and have one of those types of games, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, we score 27 points, that will cinch it for him. And I think moving forward, he's the guy. If he comes out, struggles, we win, but we barely win, and he doesn't play well, or we lose, they're going back to Carson Wentz. So I think he bought himself more time by beating Philadelphia, and now this is it. This is what they want to see from him to make the determination. And it might just be a fluid situation moving forward because I still think they want to get Wentz back in there. At their core, I think they want to get him back in there, but they understand what Heinicke is meant to this team. They can't take him out right now. Ron talked about Chase Young. Said Chase did everything. Again, it was a walkthrough. He said Chase did everything today. So we really won't get a sense for Chase until they get back out on the field, and that's going to happen tomorrow. So after they get back out on the field, they're going to put him through the ringer, see how his body responds, and he's going to have to stack 2 days back to back on top of each other. Thursday and Friday, and if they feel good about it, they'll activate him. If they don't have a choice but to activate him next week against Atlanta. So it's either this week or next week. So stay tuned for that. But Ron also talked about the development of the defense, Jack Del Rio and what he's done. And you know, Ron pulled out the old positional flex and talked about Jack having to adjust to not having Cole Holcomb and using other guys in various roles to take advantage of these guys with these unique skill sets while not trying to uproot what they've been doing defensively and upset the, you know, things that they've done to this point. So he praised a lot of guys, and you can see guys getting better and more comfortable in Jack Del Rio's system. Taylor Heinicke continues to handle the quarterback questions as to whether he'll be the starter moving forward or not really well. You know, he keeps reiterating, I'm not looking at it like I'm playing to try to continue to start. He's like, bro, I was on my couch 2 years ago. Like, I'm just happy to be on an NFL roster. Like, I'm not tripping. Whatever they ask me to do, that's what I'm going to do. I find it hilarious that there are people out there asking questions like, you know, what will Heinicke do? How will he try to maximize his opportunity? Will he try to get a big contract? Like, Heinicke's never separating from Scott Turner. Turner's the reason he's in the league. And the only reason Heinicke is effective is because he knows the offense. If you take Heinicke out of the system, I'm not saying he can't flourish elsewhere, but you're not going to get the same Taylor Heinicke we're getting elsewhere without him knowing the system. So I just don't see him going anywhere. But this is the last year of his contract. He signed a 2-year extension after that Tampa Bay game in 2020. So this is the last year of his deal. I assume they're going to sign him back to a nice, healthy backup quarterback contract to keep him here in Washington. But what happens if he starts the remainder of the season? Do you have to pay him more than a backup salary? Does he get and when we say starter money, it's not going to be high-end starter money, obviously. But are you going to have to pay him, you know, lower level, mid-tier? Because like lower level starter money is like high-end backup money. So you're talking Andy Dalton money. Remember when we signed Ryan Fitzpatrick? That was a 1-year, $10 million deal. That's good money. You extrapolate that over a 3-year deal, that's 3 years, $30 million. We didn't even want to pay, you know, our cornerback, you know, at the time, Ronald Darby, 3 years, $30 million. That's what he got from the dang on Denver Broncos. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, what the value is. I'm assuming Heinicke would probably be cool with like $7 million per year, you know, $21 million deal with some incentives in there that could punch it up to like 25 or something like that. But we'll see. That's another conversation for another day. The end of the day, he's like, yo, whatever they decide to do, I'm going to roll with it. I'm cool either way. I'm not looking at it as another opportunity to prove I'm the guy. I'm just trying to go out here and keep the ball rolling. We're playing good football. We feel really good. We just played the 2 best teams in the conference, and we should have won both games. I'm just trying to keep that party going. That's it. I'm just trying to do my job, my part. So love that. Talked about wanting to buy. He talked about buying the offensive line, Jays, right? So he said he bought all the starters. They were playing, and they did play. They played well last night, or Monday night, rather. And I just mentioned that. And so he said that they played such a good game, and they did. They played really well. That he felt compelled to buy them the Eagle colorway Jordans that he bought himself, which the pictures we saw on IG were the white and green Force. So I'm assuming he bought all of them those. So he was talking about, and I had made a joke last night, like, hey, Taylor ain't no baller. Like his money ain't as long as some of these other dudes, so he can't be out here splurging. And he made mention of that, like, because they were asking him, are you gonna buy them, Jordans for every game like yourself? He's like, nah, I can't do that. I can't afford that now. Like, hey, let's be reasonable here. But you can't help but root for the dude, man. I love Heinicke, and he talked about his chemistry with Terry, and he said the thing that he really wanted to work on with Terry was the deep ball. He's like, last year we had, good synergy with one another, but we couldn't hit the deep ball. He's right. They couldn't hit deep balls to save their lives. Every time he threw the deep ball last year, it felt like it was getting picked off. And so remember, he had Terry get the concussion against Dallas last year because he left it up there for 20. And Terry was open by like 5 steps. He had cooked Trayvon Diggs, rather. And that ball hung in the air for so long that Diggs ended up hitting him, or the safety came over and hit him, and Terry hit his head, and it was a mess. So he's definitely improved in that regard with Terry down the field. So he's like, yeah, that was a point of emphasis. And it's worked out for them to this point. So I just feel like Heinicke right now gives us the best chance to win. He is a guy that I think the team rallies behind him, but not only that, they always said this is the most important thing. When you got a quarterback, you want your teammates to feel like we're never out of a ball game. We got a chance because we got this guy under center. And I think they feel that with Heinicke. I don't think they feel that way with Carson Wentz. That's just my personal opinion. With 4, we got a shot. We're never out of it. I can tell you as a fan, for all of his faults, all the shit that I know we're going to get throughout the course of the game, I was upset that he didn't get an opportunity versus Minnesota. And that's why I didn't feel bad when the Eagles had that flag thrown on them at the end of the game for roughing the passer, right? For that illegal, the unnecessary roughness hit. Because the shit happened to us last week, where if we don't make a stupid mistake on a damn field goal attempt, we're going to get the ball back with roughly the same amount of time the Eagles would have gotten the football back with. We would have had a timeout, though. They would not have had a timeout, but we would have had a timeout and the same amount of time, and Heinicke would have had a chance. And we didn't get the chance. Same shit happened to us last week. Same exact thing happened to us. They kicked a field goal. We got a chance with the football back with what? I don't know, 8 seconds left, whatever the hell it was. Wasn't enough time to do any goddamn thing. And the game was over. Same shit happened to us. So I didn't feel bad for them. Speaking of the Vikings, before we move on, did you see what Chris Boyd had to say? And I forgot to put it. I'm gonna pull it up for y'all though. I forgot to pull it up, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and search it out. I think I got it here, so I think I'm gonna pull it up for y'all. Here it is. I don't know if y'all saw this or not, but I told y'all on the show last night, right? I wasn't a fan of us doing the Kirk Cousins thing to Taylor Heinicke on the flight. Like, it just felt dirty. Like, you jocking their style, you biting what they doing. I told y'all it felt turnover chainish, where I just felt like everybody, and you know, that's what people do. Flattery, I mean, imitation is the greatest form of flattery, right? When people copy you, imitate you, they're just admitting, yo, that shit was dope. That shit was cold, right? They may not want to give you credit for it, but them doing the same exact thing you did means they thought it was sweet. So I just was like, hey, find something else to do. I know they did it last week, but they've been doing it all season long. After this, you know, after a win, they've been putting the chains on Kirk. The only reason we just got wind of it, or a lot of you did, because they did it after the game when they beat us and you were paying attention. You were hypersensitive to it. They've been doing that shit all season. The Vikings have won 7 games in a row. They've been doing this shit for pretty much the entire time they've been winning these games. Probably like after the 3rd straight win, they started putting the chains on Kirk. Y'all just weren't paying attention to it because they hadn't beaten us. You weren't hypersensitive to it. But I told y'all I thought it was tacky. Don't bite their shit. That's their thing. Let them have their thing. Do something else. But that's one thing about us. We're not original. We play the Packers. The week before, the Packers were beaten by the Jets, and rookie Sauce Gardner somehow got his hands on a cheese head, put it on his head, and he's walking around, and I forget who it was. I want to say it was Alan Lazard, ran over and snatched it off his damn head, right? Like, that's disrespectful. That's like grabbing a terrible towel in Pittsburgh and waving the shit as the opposition, as the ops. That's going to piss somebody off. You don't do that shit, especially not at our house. Well, the Packers came to Washington the following week. We beat them, and guess what Percy Butler, our rookie safety, does? He finds a lady in the crowd that's right behind the bench. She's got a cheese head, and he's like, he's bargaining with her, right? He's like a barter system. Hey, I'll give you this. I'll give you my gloves. Let me get the cheese head. Let me get the cheese head. And she doesn't know any better. Like, she shouldn't have given him that shit. If you're a real fan, hell no, you can't have my cheese. I don't want your goddamn gloves. I ain't no Washington fan. What the hell is some Percy Butler gloves going to do for me? I'm good. Move on. But no, you know, a player's asking me for my cheese head. Oh my God. And she gives him the cheese head. And he puts the shit on and he's running around recording himself. And somebody did that the week before. Why you want to do the shit? You know what I'm saying? Like, stop jocking. It's the same shit with the heated benches. Like, we are unoriginal, right? Dallas brings the heated benches to our crib, kicks our ass, and now we want to take heated benches everywhere. And we getting the difference is we taking heated benches and getting a mud hole stomped in our ass. I didn't think we needed to do that, but clearly the Vikings have taken an exception. Chris Boyd, one of their corners on that football team, writes, stop trying to effing be us. Lames. He couldn't hold Kirk's jockstrap. Find your own trend. Y'all shit don't even look like y'all having fun enjoying it. Look, I'm not telling you that I want somebody over here coming for us aggressively in that manner with that tone. Lower your voice, boy. Okay? Watch who you're talking to, because we should have did you boys last week. Okay? You got by on some bullshit. However, he's not wrong. Now, again, watch how you talk to me. Ain't no lames over here. Okay? The shit we did was lame, but we ain't no lames over here. Watch how you talk to me. However, and we do need to find our own trend. Like, I said as much yesterday. Told y'all this before he did this, before he said this. I'm just telling you how I would feel. Anyway, I digress. Let's take our first look. Let's move on. I'm done with that, right? Let's take our first look at the Houston Texans. It's time to move the page, turn the page rather, to our next opponent, because if you keep talking about what we just did, you're going to miss an opportunity to get over 500. We missed the opportunity last week when we let the Vikings come in here and escape by the slimmest of margins. This is another opportunity to exceed 500, really be in the mix in the NFC East, because everybody's just assuming, like, the funny thing with these salty Eagles fans, and I've been enjoying every second, and I've been engaging every single one of them, because I told you I'm petty. So what I did was I went all the way back in the timeline like 3 months ago when they were dragging my ass. I mean, every day it was somebody else coming for the kid. And you know what? I deserved a little bit of it, but then they went over the top with it. And I was like, hey, it's all fair game, right? I can take mine. I told you, I'm a man about mine, right? I'm going to stand 10 toes down, take my licks, but just know when it's time to give them out, I'm coming for every single one of y'all. And what did I do? I went petty style, back down into the timeline, found every single name of somebody that had some sideways shit to say out of their mouth, talking out of the side of their neck, and I added their ass in these videos. Let y'all know I'm coming for y'all ass, and I'm dragging y'all ass. And then they started messaging me, and they filled up my timeline, and I had some slick shit for them every single time. Oh, I spent half the day yesterday on just petty business. Like literally, I spent 4 or 5 hours on just being petty. Loved every second of it. The one thing they always like to say, oh, y'all ain't making the playoffs anyway. Y'all in last place, this, that. Well, you got beat by a last place team. What you got to say about that? Came in your house as 11-point underdogs and drug your ass at your crib, beat you by the amount of points they said you were supposed to beat us by. Flip the script on you. You know, they want to go bring up some shit that don't have nothing to do with the ass whooping we just put on them. It's all good though, because just like I told them when we were 2-4 and they laughed at me when I said, I want y'all to be undefeated when we play y'all. I want y'all to be undefeated. I want to be the one. I want us to be the ones to pop the seal on your ass. Show them how it's done. Just like when I said that when we were 2-4 and they laughed at me. I'm laughing at you. I'm laughing at you now. You told me I was ugly. I was scared to crack a smile. Ha, 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 ha. They ain't laughing no more, though. They still think, oh, y'all at the bottom. We ain't worried about y'all. Okay, cool. And just like I told them when we was 2-4. A lot of football left to be played. We'll see when we get there. A lot of football left to be played. We'll see when we get there. We done with them, though. We already played them twice. We won't see them again unless we get them in the playoffs. You want to go to the playoffs? You want to play bonus football? Got to beat teams like the Texans. So we got to turn the page and take care of a team that's very dangerous. These are the games that scare me. The games where you got nothing to lose. We went into that Monday night game. Oh, shit. Relaxed. We ain't had shit to lose. Those are the easy ones. Those are the easy, because you're not supposed to win. These are the ones that scare me half to death. The ones where you look at a team, and what did I tell you guys? You don't get upset as a fan when you lose a game that you hope your team wins. Because hope is free. There's no charge for hope. Hope is free of charge. You can get as much hope, take it to the cash register, and you're like, hey, how much I owe you for that? Oh, that shit's free. All of this hope is free? Yeah, it's just hope. It's free. Then you try to throw a little expectation on the belt, and you're like, hey, yeah, just throw that in the bag. You said it was free. Whoa, 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 whoa. Now I got to charge you for the expectation. You got to pay for that shit. That ain't free. The hope is free. Expectations cost. That's when you get in trouble. When you expect to beat a team, I expect to beat the Texans. That's when the disappointment hits. You lose to a team that you're supposed to lose to, even if you were winning, like the Vikings game, for instance. That shit, while it hurt, it didn't hurt as bad as the Titans lost for me. You know why? I expected to beat the damn Titans. They have no offensive firepower other than Derrick Henry. They suck on offense. We supposed to beat their ass. Every week, the Titans got to find some creative way to manufacture 21 points. They did it against Denver with a flea flicker. Who does flea flickers anymore? The Titans did. And the shit works because it's Derrick Henry. You think he's getting the ball, right? I'm attaching expectations to the game this week. This is when shit gets real. I ain't attached no expectations to that Eagles game. I hoped we won that game. I wasn't expecting to win that game. I knew we had a chance, though, but I wasn't expecting to win that game. I wasn't expecting to beat the Vikings. I expected to beat the Colts. We almost lost that game. I would have been pissed off had we lost to the Colts. I was fuming watching that game, and I'm sitting there trying to calm myself down because that post-game show was going to be crazy. Because I'm like, this the shit I'm talking about. But we found a way to win that game. So it changed everything. That was the last game I had expectations for, and we almost blew it. I'm going to have expectations this week. These are the ones that scare me. The Texans aren't going to lie down for us. And the Texans aren't as bad as their record may make them appear. Now, you are what your record says you are, which means they find and create ways to lose football games. The bad teams in the league do. You know how that goes because we've been a bad team for many, many years, and we find and create ways to lose ball games. You know how it goes. But it'd be just our luck to go in there and they don't find ways to lose the game. They don't make the dumb back-breaking mistake that they always make. This is a Texans team that, and again, this is just the first look. We're not diving in deep to the Texans, but I'll just tell you this. If you haven't watched them, and I'm pretty sure you've seen them at least once, maybe twice, because they play our division and they've already played every team in the division except Dallas and us, and they'll be playing us this weekend. But they've played everybody in successive weeks. Played Philadelphia on a Thursday night 2 weeks ago, played the Giants this past week. They play us this week. So you've seen the Texans if you've been paying attention to the NFC East. You definitely had a chance to see them against the Eagles on Thursday night. They run the football, and they run it well. Dameon Pierce, and I've been talking about this kid on my podcast. He's the real deal. He's legit. Florida rookie running back has come in, and he's taken over that offense. They ride him, and he does a hell of a job. He's physical. He's got athleticism. He's not a blazer, but he's got enough speed, and if you're not careful, he can take one the distance on you. He's their offense right now, and everything they do is predicated off of him and then play action fake off of him being successful. So the first thing you got to do if you're going to get to that Texans offense is you got to stop Dameon Pierce. Make Davis Mills beat you because the more he throws it, he's a walking mistake waiting to happen. Is Davis Mills. Every time I watch the Texans, I said, all right, Davis, when are you going to make the bonehead mistake? When are you going to make the back-breaking mistake that costs your team, whether it's holding on to it too long, taking an unnecessary sack that kills a drive, taking that same sack and fumbling the football, have it recovered by the opposition, or making a bad read and throwing an interception like he did against the Eagles, and he's done that almost every game this season. You just wait for it with Davis Mills. He's going to make some type of mistake. But the mistake only comes if you continuously force him to have to throw the football. If he gets to turn around and hand it off, you minimize the opportunities he has to make that mistake. So just like I said, when we played the Titans, you have to stop the run game because they really don't have a lot else. Now, they've got more than the Titans do. They've got Brandon Cooks. They've got Nico Collins. They've got O.J. Howard. They've got tight ends. Okay? Jordan Akins. They've got guys they can get the football to. But they want to run the football. So Offensively, you must stop the run. Defensively, same thing. They can't stop the run. They struggle stopping the run. They're giving up over 170 yards per game on the ground. Ouch. Teams are running the football with regularity on them. Derrick Henry, I just watched them play the Titans. Derrick Henry has rushed for over 200 yards 4 straight games against the Houston Texans. How is that fathomable? I don't know. You know this man is getting the football when they play you, and you still can't stop them. The Titans, I am just amazed at how they're able to do this week in, week out with Westbrook Akina as their best receiver. No disrespect to Robert Woods, but he's been the invisible man this season. They have nothing at receiver. They got a little something, not much at tight end. They are so reliant on the running back position, and yet Derrick Henry still goes over 100 yards on most teams. And he went over 200 yards on the Texans. They struggle to stop the run. They want to run the football. You do those two things against them. Stop their run game, run the football on them, they're in trouble. They're a heavy cover 2 team. Lovie Smith is a cover 2 dude through and through. It's predictable. You know it's coming. If you got cover 2 beaters, this is the week to pull them out. Bring them out, bring them out, bring them out. Because they're going to give you cover 2. And it was pathetic watching the Eagles just run corner routes with Dallas Goedert, and the corner doesn't sink far enough in the cover 2. And it's easy because all you got to do is give him some eye candy. Just send a wide receiver on a little quick out right in front of that corner to hold him, and that safety's too far down the field, and there's that honey hole, as Joe Gibbs would say, and it's right there in front of the corner, or behind the corner rather, in front of the safety. They would corner routes all day to Dallas Goedert. It'd be 3rd and 12, Dallas Goedert for a 22-yard corner route. It's easy money. You know, over the middle of the field is one of the biggest weaknesses of a cover 2 defense, unless you got a ridiculous middle linebacker that can cover all of that space. You playing at Tampa 2, you better have a Derrick Brooks. They don't have Derrick Brooks on their team. So the middle of the field is wide open. You just got to take advantage of it. See what Scott Turner can do. I don't trust him clearly on a short week. So we'll see. But that's our first look at the Houston Texans. Obviously, we're going to be talking about them the rest of the week and really diving into what they bring to the table and what kind of a matchup this is going to be. But now it's time for you guys to take over the show. Social media maneuvers. I'm a Midnight Marauder. Appreciate y'all hanging tough with the kid tonight. So we're going to get to the comment section and see what you guys have to say. So Quentin Ruiz starts the evening off with a comment here. Thank you for the super chat, Quentin. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Steelers no longer giving us the 6th rounder for William Jackson III since he was placed on IR. Random question. How do you think Taylor Heinicke, TH4, would do outside of Turner's offense? Kind of already spoke about that, but I don't think he's the same guy, because what Taylor Heinicke's game is predicated on is confidence, knowing the offense, not having to go out there and think, just being able to go out and execute. You take him out of Turner's offense, and it's like taking him out of his comfort zone. And now he's going to have to learn a new system. And I'm not saying he's incapable of learning a new system, but I liken Taylor Heinicke to your 1998 Honda Civic. All right. I got to stop doing that. I'm showing my age. Your 2008 Honda Civic, okay? It still runs. Shit ton of miles on it, but it runs and gets you from point A to point B. The heat works, the AC works. Isn't the most aesthetically pleasing. Got a few bumps, nicks, and bruises on the outside that you're not looking to fix at this point. right? But as long as you keep up the oil changes and the preventative maintenance, car's fine. All right, it's fine. It's exactly what you need. But you have another car, and that car is a newer car. But you really don't want to drive that car all the time. But you need a little extra cash, and you're willing to sell your 2008 Honda Civic. But you're not giving it away. You're not looking to give your 2008 Honda Civic away. There's a price. There's a number that you're looking for. And you may say, I want $1,750 for my Honda Civic. And somebody calls you up and says, hey, I saw you had this Honda Civic listed. I'll give you $1,400 for it. And you're like, nah, I didn't say $1,750 or OBO or best offer. I said $1,750. That's what I'm looking for. And they're like, all right, how about $1,500? Are you deaf? $1,750. Can't go any higher than $1,500. Well, then you don't want the Honda Civic. Sorry, I can't do anything for you. And all of a sudden, you realize that people are trying to lowball you for your Honda Civic, and you're like, that shit's worth more to me than somebody else. If I can't get the price that I'm looking for, I'm not giving it away. That's worth more to me. It runs, it does all the things I needed to do. I might as well hold on to it. And that's how I feel about Taylor Heinicke. He's worth more to us in Scott Turner's offense than he is to any other team out there without Scott Turner, who isn't as comfortable with him, who he doesn't know the scheme, doesn't know his strengths, his weaknesses. I mean, they can go watch the film and figure out what he's good and what he's not good at. And I'm not saying he can't be successful somewhere else, because I think he could as a backup in this league. However, most backup quarterbacks are comfortable in systems that they know. And what you'll see is that when a backup quarterback leaves the comfort zone, it's leaving the comfort zone to go with another guy that they're comfortable with. So I'll give you an example. Chase Daniel, comfortable in Andy Reid's system, right? Came up in Andy Reid's system, very comfortable playing for Andy Reid. Was Andy Reid backup in Philadelphia, right? When they drafted Carson Wentz, he was there. He goes to the Bears. Why? Because one of Andy Reid's disciples, their former offensive coordinator, became the head coach of the Chicago Bears. So he knows that offense. So he's comfortable being the backup in Chicago. And then you just keep moving on, whether it's the quarterback's coach you're familiar with or the coordinator. It just makes sense. You're just comfortable. There's no spawning off of Scott Turner. There's no tree. So there may be other offenses that may be similar to Scott Turner, but it's not quite his offense. I think Heinicke could do fine elsewhere, but it won't be as good as he will be here in Washington. I'll just say that. I just found out the William Jackson III thing yesterday on Rio's stream. I was not privy to that information, but I told y'all, remember when we first traded him, I said, hey, a lot of y'all are celebrating. I said this, I literally talked about that for like 5 to 7 minutes. I said, a lot of y'all are celebrating like we got something for this dude. Hey, pipe down. This is a man that may not pass the physical. They might say, hey, you got to take his ass back. He's damaged goods. The conditional pick. So understand what a conditional pick is. All that means is there are conditions that need to be met for you to maximize the value of the pick. It doesn't necessarily, now I don't know what the specifics of the trade were, but normally when it's a conditional pick, you're still getting something. It's just not what that could be in terms of the best value for that pick. So our pick with the Indianapolis Colts, it's a conditional 3rd round pick. that if Wentz hits a certain threshold, and all of you are very aware of what that is, 70% of the snaps in the regular season, then it becomes a second round pick. The condition is that he plays 70% of the snaps in the regular season. Then that pick turns from a 3 to a 2. I'm assuming there was a snap condition in William Jackson III's trade that would have taken the 7th round pick to a 6th. That's my assumption, or maybe a 6th to a 5th. You're still getting a pick. I'm guessing. I could be wrong about this. You're just not getting the most value out of the trade. That's all. So it's probably a 7th round pick now in 2053 or whenever it is. Like that shit was like in 2025. Like, what am I supposed to, this ain't the NBA. What am I supposed to do with a 2025 pick in the 7th round? Anyway, I digress. See if I got another super chat. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, JP, writes, good to see you, Lou, as always. Likewise, JP. Giving Philly the biggest middle finger ever by playing Meek Mill in the locker room was so satisfying. Hashtag ruthless. Yeah. I mean, everything about everything that we did felt good. From Taylor Heinicke telling them, shut the F up, the crowd, to, you know, Cam Curl's IG live where him and Bobby McCain are telling them, F them, F them, F them. And you got, you know Derek Forrest doing some shit in the background. And yeah, all of that shit was great. It was all gratifying, all of it. So I soaked it all up, as most of you did as well. But again, now it's on to Houston. You know what I'm saying? Us as fans, like, we don't have to stop. We could keep pouring the shit on thick. I'm gonna move on to Houston, but I'll make sure that they know your loss. Charge that to our account. Charge that to our account. I'll make sure that they know. I'm petty, okay? And I know I'm getting under their skin. I know it. It's so exhilarating. It's not gratifying. It's not satisfying. It's exhilarating. I get a rush from getting under their skin. So yeah, it feels good. Damn good. Derek B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, 4 at QB1 for now. Fourth quarter interceptions in 3 games. Thumbs down. Not good enough. Look, I'm aware. I've stated this already. Heinicke has made 4 starts. And in his 4 starts, he's thrown an interception in every one of those starts. 1 going for a pick 6, and the other 3 in the fourth quarter of those ball games, where you can least afford to have that kind of a mistake. Let's see. Obviously, the Packers scored a pick 6, so they scored on that interception. The Vikings scored a touchdown after the interception he threw in that game. The Colts scored a touchdown after the interception he threw in that game. The only game where the opposition didn't score a touchdown off of his mistake was this Eagles game. And that's because that one actually served as like a punt. We tackled Chauncey Gardner-Johnson like at the 11-yard line, the Eagles 11, So all the other ones pretty much set that team's offense up, on the silver platter, right, to go in and score, and they did. You can't have that if you're looking to be a legitimate contender. You can't have fourth quarter turnovers in every ball game and expect to just magically overcome them. So I get it. It's not ideal, which is why it's not a slam dunk that he's going to remain the starter. It's part of the reason why they're still, trying to evaluate him. And that's why I think this Texans game, this is his opportunity to play a clean ball game. They're begging him to play a clean game and make the decision easy for them. You make it hard when you make the mistakes he's made in every single game. You make it tough on them to say, hey, this is your team. Go get him, kid. You make it tough. And here's the thing. There's no guarantee that Wentz won't do the exact same thing. Cough it up in a crucial situation. He did it against the Titans. Okay? There's no guarantee that he won't do the exact same thing. But if you're going to do the same exact thing, they're thinking we might as well go with the guy that we're paying $28 million. We might as well go with the guy that has the higher upside. We might as well go with the guy that we think gives us the best chance to maximize the talent that we have on offense. So you've got to give them a reason not to go back to that guy. JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy, John Perez, writes, playoffs are there for the taking. Hashtag why not us? I've been saying that from Jump Street. Before the season started, why not us? I've been saying that. Started off 1-4. A lot of people were done. I was included in that. I kept telling y'all season's not done, and I kept trying to bring up shit like Rivera started 1-3 in his third year in Carolina, and they went 12-4 that season. I was bringing up erroneous shit to try to make me feel, not to make y'all feel better, to make me feel better. But even in saying that, I never gave up because it was a lot of football left. And the schedule, I can't stress this enough. The schedule for this division in particular, which is why we're so good this year, but we're winning games outside of the schedule, like outside of, the NFC North and the AFC South. We're beating teams, outside of that. Like the Giants, for instance, or that's not a good example, but because they lost to Seattle, the one good team that they've played outside of the divisions, but they beat the Ravens. They beat the Ravens. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's a good team. The Ravens are a good football team. So, I like I said, this team has a shot because we play in a conference where there isn't a dominant team. The good teams, the Eagles are a good football team. The Vikings are a good football team. They're not dominant. The Giants, they're playing good. They're a good football team. We got to stop acting, and I shouldn't say we because I'm not talking to me, and I'm not talking to some of y'all, but there are some of y'all that are still waiting for the Giants' other shoe to drop. It ain't no other shoe dropping. They're actually good. It ain't pretty, but it's gritty, and most importantly, it's a dub almost every damn week. There's a large enough sample size that you should know the Giants don't suck. But they're not dominant. Why not us? We hold the key, all the cards. If it's not us, it's going to be because of us. When we lose, rarely is it because of what the other team did. Most of the time, it's because of what we did. Self-inflicted shit. So if it's not us, it's because of us. But why not us? Ryan A., thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, how much better is Jamin Davis now since weeks 1-4? I thought the turnaround for Jamin Davis started in week 3, the first time we played Philadelphia. Thought he started to play better football. They challenged him after the Lions game. And he responded ever since then. And he's just gotten better and better and better and better. And he's so much more comfortable. And what I've seen from Jamin Davis is a guy that isn't thinking anymore. Doesn't have to figure out what is it that I'm supposed to do on this play again. What's my assignment? He can just go out and play. He's so athletically gifted. He's so talented. He doesn't need to be thinking. He just needs to be doing. And that's what he's doing now. He's light years ahead of where he was early in the season. And remember, a lot of people don't like to give the benefit of the doubt to players. It was a change for him. He was playing middle linebacker last year, and they essentially took him and put him outside where he's more comfortable, where he's better suited to be. And that was an adjustment. And we just all acted like, oh, he's supposed to just go out there and just be a beast because that's where he should be. He had to adapt and adjust. He's done that. He made mistakes. He's grown from those mistakes. He's better now. A lot better. The Phillies Ace 34. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, my guy, you're the man, and Philly loves you, buddy. Having said that, with y'all victory, did you perhaps put us back in take care of business and not to play with our food? Hopefully, Woken Gannon, he looks lost. Gannon just isn't a good coordinator. I've said that, and Eagles fans tried to give me every excuse. I said it on Super Friends with Lord Brunson. Gannon is a basic ass coordinator. And, Brunson tried to tell me, well, it takes a lot to get talented football players to play on one accord. While that could be true, I'd much rather have an abundance of talent than no talent and have to try to get them to play at a high level. This dude is doing nothing with the defense. He don't blitz. He doesn't do anything creative. He's just out there because he's got a talented unit, they're making him look good. He sucks as a coordinator, does Jonathan Gannon. He's a basic-ass defensive coordinator. The talent on that roster is what bails him out more so than anything else. But that can only happen for so long. And as far as will this refocus you, sometimes you need a loss to refocus you. This is either going to do one or two things for the Eagles. Either this loss is going to knock you down a peg from a being humble standpoint, because you were smelling yourself, right? Oh, it didn't matter what y'all did. Y'all shit didn't stink. And sometimes I already told y'all, and Eagles fans try to tell me I was crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. Sirianni says we go 1-0 each week, and in order to do that, you got to respect the opponent. Y'all ain't respect us. You ain't telling me shit. Y'all ain't respect us. Y'all fell into the trap of, oh, we smoked their ass the first time. They trash, and we going to do it again. They ain't got nothing for us. You fell into the trap of who's going to beat us? Looking past us. Lord Brunson told you on a Super Friends stream, it ain't going to be you or Dallas. Got to be the Giants. Overlooking us. Don't think the Eagles weren't overlooking us. They weren't looking at us. They weren't looking at Indianapolis. They skipped over those games, went straight to the Giants. That's the next game they thought, okay, we're going to have to be on our A game for them. So we had to jump up and bite your ass. We had to reach out and touch you. You needed to be touched. Maybe that does galvanize your football team and refocus them. Or it can shake you to your core. You can start to panic. Teams have the blueprint now, which is why you went out and got Linval Joseph to help you stop the run. I don't know if that's going to fix all of your ills, but it won't hurt. I don't know if it helps. But other teams got the blueprint. They're able to attack you. And now we could see your true colors. Because I've said this from Jump Street. I just want to see game pressure be applied to the Eagles. Before our game, you hadn't trailed at no point, at any point this season in the second half. At no point had you trailed in the second half. Let me say that again. So you didn't have game pressure on you. You didn't know what it felt like to be in pressure-packed situations. We put you in that and you didn't handle it well. Now we'll see if other teams can put you in that same predicament, and will y'all be better equipped to deal with it, or will y'all panic and make similar mistakes that you made against Washington? We're going to see. I don't like the play with food comment when regarding the Eagles, because playing with your food insinuates that you're capable of destroying a team. You haven't shown the ability to destroy a team, to put up 43 on somebody's head. You haven't shown the ability to do that. You've shown the ability to jump out in front of somebody in the first half. I've already said this. I've said it on live streams. I've said it on Super Friend streams. You jump out in front of teams in the first half, and then in the second half, nothing. I don't know. Playing with your food insinuates you dominating a team for 3 quarters. You got 30, 34 points on the scoreboard. And instead of you continuing to step on their larynx and crush their windpipe, you let them back in the game, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a 1-possession game in the fourth quarter when you were up 34-14. Now all of a sudden you give up 2 touchdowns. It's 34-28, similar to what you did against the Detroit Lions. That's what I call playing with your food. When you up 2 scores heading into the fourth quarter and somehow you find yourself in a 1-possession game clinging to your lead. That ain't what y'all doing. Y'all dominating in the first half, specifically the second quarter, and then the other team has the entire second half to do whatever they want to do, whether it's mount a comeback or whatever. Y'all haven't shown the ability to dominate. But we'll see if y'all can, quote unquote, stop playing with y'all food. We'll see. Chill Dude, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, was the best game called Scott Turner had all year. Looking for the patented 4-game win streak. LOL. Love you, Louie. 1 game at a time. Great execution. Still haven't had our patented 4-game win streak. I don't want a 4-game win streak. I'm not after a 4-game win streak. I'm after more. Why we got to stop at 4? Why not 5? Why not 6? Hell, we got 7 games left in the season. Why not finish on an 8-game heater? Right? Why not? 1 at a time. 1 at a time. Right? Just like you said, 1 game at a time. Great execution. 1 game at a time. The Texans are next. Let's beat them. All I'm looking to do, stack bricks in the left-hand column. Stack these dubs like bricks in the left-hand column. We'll sort them out later. Was that the best performance from Scott Turner all year? I struggle with that because I really thought he called a hell of a game against Jacksonville in week 1. I thought he had the Jaguars on their heels. They didn't know if they were coming or going. He opened up the entire playbook. Tight end screen, Curtis Samuel up the gut, Curtis Samuel to the outside. Everybody got a taste. You know, Curtis was getting busy. Terry had the big touchdown grab. You know, like I said, we got the tight end position involved a little bit. Running backs were in their bag as well. I just thought he did a great job in week 1. Like, we really could have blown Jacksonville out if Curtis Samuel does not fumble the football in the second quarter. We were on the verge of blowing those dudes out. I thought he was fantastic against Jacksonville. Jahan got busy in that game with 2 touchdown grabs. Like, I think Jacksonville was his best game. I thought, and I said this already, I'll say it again, I thought this game against Philadelphia was his most consistent, because it's easy to get away from what's working, or it's easy to try to take advantage of what's working, and like he did in the red zone, when the one time we didn't score a touchdown, That was his inability. He couldn't help himself. They haven't stopped it yet. If it's not broke, why are you trying to fix it? They haven't stopped us from running the ball into the end zone all game. We were 2 for 2 at that moment in the red zone, both running the football down their throats into the end zone. You just ran the ball all the way down inside the 5 to the 3-yard line. You were at the 14. Gibson has a run outside off tackle for a gain of 8. On 3rd down and 1, you run it again. He gets you to the 6. The first play of 1st and goal from the 6, Gibson almost gets tackled in the backfield, breaks the tackle, cuts it back, gets a gain of 3 down to the 3-yard line. Why are we throwing the football on 2nd and goal? Because you couldn't help yourself. Oh, we got the run game going. We've been killing them. They got to be looking for run. No, they don't got to be looking for run. And they weren't. You go bootleg, and they were all over that shit. They covered everybody, and they had a guy in Taylor Heinicke's face immediately, and he had to throw it over Logan Thomas's head so it could be incomplete. Oh, man. They was all over that one. But I bet you they think we're going to turn around and run it on 3rd down. So I'm going to outsmart him, and I'm going to throw it again. But he had dudes open. I got to give him credit. He had guys open. Protection didn't hold up, but Heinicke could have gotten rid of the football to either Curtis Samuel or to Antonio Gibson. It was the same concept we ran against Indianapolis for the touchdown on the first possession of the 2nd quarter. And he was open. And he just didn't throw it to him for whatever reason. I don't know why he just didn't let it go. He either had a touchdown. Either way. But don't outsmart yourself. Don't reinvent the wheel. It's hard for a guy like Scott Turner who really wants to throw the football to stay true to the game plan and what's working. And he did that. And I got to give him credit for that. It was his most consistent game. Zacchaeus Maggette III, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, I'm really rooting for Heinicke. I ask him, please finish one game with 0 interceptions. That's all I ask. He's trying, man. It's not like he wants to throw an interception. It just seems like they find him. But he doesn't make it easy on himself because he throws at least 2 or 3 balls every game where you go, well, that shit could have been picked off. He got lucky. And then one eventually does get picked off. So can he still – he's shown us in the past he's capable of having a game where he stays clean, just not this year for whatever reason, you know. But last year he had games where he stayed clean. You know, the Atlanta game he was clean. The Carolina game he was clean. I think, don't quote me on this, he was clean against Tampa. He might not have been clean against Tampa, but I know he was clean against Carolina. I'm pretty sure he was clean against Seattle. And I think he was clean against Vegas during that 4-game win streak, but he easily could have, and should have thrown a pick to the rookie safety out of TCU, who literally had it right in. I don't know how he dropped that. That would have been a game-clinching interception at the most inopportune time. We're driving down for the game-winning field goal, and he throws it right to the safety, and he just dropped it. And we would have been killing Heinicke if he would have thrown that pick, if that guy would have caught it. So seems to do those things at the times where you're like, he's got that Ryan Fitzpatrick gene. Let's call it what it is. Ryan Fitzpatrick will reel you in. You'll fall into that trap. He'll lull you to sleep, you know, with his play. And then at the most inopportune time, he will throw a back-breaking, soul-crushing pick. And that's what Heinicke has done. But at the same time, Heinicke will take you down the field and win you a ball game too, like he did against Indianapolis. So you don't really know what you're going to get, which is why you're on the roller coaster ride. Yin Yang Experience. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, is Forrest the stud he looked like on Monday? Yeah, he's legit. He's the real deal, man. And he's been good all season long. If you think about it, forced a fumble in week 1 versus Jacksonville. We just didn't recover it, but forced that fumble out of Travis Etienne. In that same game, he had the game-clinching interception that sealed the deal for us, if you recall. Had a couple of big pass breakups in that same game against Jacksonville, if you recall. Again, you just got to remember this stuff. Forced a massive fumble against Jonathan Taylor in space against the Indianapolis Colts. Like, was it him or was it Cam Curl? It's one of those safeties that came up, hit Jonathan Taylor, and the ball came out. And I want to say it was recovered by Casey Toohill. But he's been, I said all that to say this, he's been making plays all season long as Derek Forrest. So I think he leads the team in interceptions with his 2. I don't think there's another player on our team with more than 1, right? Like, we haven't been forcing turnovers. So I'm trying to think who even has interceptions on this team. Jonathan Allen has 1. Derek Forrest has 2. Is that it in the interception department? I'm trying to think. Somebody else has to have an interception. Maybe they don't. Maybe that's it, right? Because we didn't force a lot of turnovers. So we don't have a lot. We just started forcing it, and most of them were coming on special teams for a minute there. So I'm trying to think. Did we pick Justin Fields off twice or just once? Just once. It was just once. And then we had the special teams turnover. That was the 2 turnovers in that game. I think they had 2. We didn't pick off Ryan Tannehill. We had some opportunities against Dallas. They were both called back. They had 2 picks in that game. They were both called back. We didn't pick off Hurts in week 3. We didn't pick off Goff. We had an opportunity, but we didn't do it in week 2. We didn't pick off Aaron Rodgers in week 6. Or was that week 7? Week 6 was Chicago. Week 7 was Green Bay. I don't think we picked Aaron Rodgers off at all. Week number 8 was Indy. We didn't pick off Sam Ehlinger. Had a chance with David Mayo, but he didn't catch it. Week 9 was the Vikings game. Danny Johnson had an interception in that game. So that's crazy. So Jonathan Allen, like, the most unlikely sources have interceptions this year. Jonathan Allen, Danny Johnson, and then 2 from Derek Forrest. That's crazy. And then obviously the interception last night or Monday night for Forrest. So we got 4 interceptions on the season. Everything else are fumble recoveries. And he's legit. He leads the team in interceptions, right? He's right up there probably in forced fumbles on the team as well. He's always around the ball. Guys like that find themselves, in the right place at the right time. When you hustle, when you're around the football, you're going to make plays. And that's Derek Forrest. He's legit. All right, let's see. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Video channel writes, Ron, the coach, got to separate himself from Ron, the GM, like Spider-Man rejecting the symbiote. So that's usually the problem with the coach-centric approach. When you give a coach that kind of autonomy, it's hard to separate the two. That's why Ron went out and got, Martin Mayhew and Marty Herney, so that he wouldn't be responsible for those things. Let's not act like he doesn't still have input in those departments, because he does, but I don't think he's as much involved in it as he was when he first got here. So I think he has done a better job of separating himself from the GM aspect because he's got actual guys in those roles. That said, I think he does have, because he has that autonomy, he's viewing his job from the perspective of long term, which is the job of a GM. A coach is supposed to be looking at it from a short term vacuum. Like, I got to win and I got to win now. I don't always feel like Ron is approaching this team from that lens because he does have that GM role here, or power, I should say. And so I think I've laid that out for you in ways that I felt like he's displaying long-term view and vision over short-term gain, which is, again, the battle you have when you've got total autonomy, when you are a coach-centric guy with the ability to pick players and coach. It usually doesn't work. Mike Holmgren did it. Mike Shanahan did it. It usually doesn't work. But I got to give him credit. You know, he went out and got some guys that he trusts to take over the GM, role so that he could focus more on the team. But we talked about the cornerback position. We talked about defensive tackle at one point, even though John Ridgway has been a breath of fresh air. But in particular, we talked about those two positions and how they have approached it. And they've approached it from a perspective and lens of, we got time. Let's go get young guys that we can develop over time. When you go out and you sign Rashad Wildgoose, and you go out and you sign Castro Fields, and you go out and you sign John Ridgway instead of Ndamukong Suh, or one of these guys that could come in and help and make an immediate impact, or a veteran corner that can come in and help you right away. When you elect to go with the young guy, that's more of a, hey, let's take a guy with upside that 2 years from now could be a starter for us or a key contributor. Nothing wrong with that approach. But if you're winning now, you're trying to get a veteran that you can bring in here that can help you win now. And that's not what Ron's been doing. But I think some of that is a knee-jerk reaction, and I've said this already from when he was in Carolina. He said this when he first got here. I allowed that roster to get old overnight. I was too loyal to veterans to a fault, and I allowed that roster to get old, and I'm not doing that again. He said that out of his own mouth when he first got here. And he stayed true to that. He has not brought in aging veterans. He's gotten rid of those guys, as a matter of fact. So, anyway, I digress. Let's see. Miss Perry, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, smash the like button since my girl Condo P gave me an opportunity for the public service announcement. I'm going to go ahead and hit the button. You guys do the same. Like button, subscribe button, notification bell. If you haven't hit those things, by all means, please now do so. Over 580 of you out there. We only got 200 and some odd likes. We can do better. We can get it up to 3. See, and if y'all can't make that happen by hitting the like button, truly do appreciate each and every single one of you. All right. Let's see. Got a super chat here from King of the North. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy, King of the North. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, don't sleep on Texans pass rush. They did a good job of getting to Hurts and came close to stripping the ball several times. Number 4 has to protect the ball. I'm telling you, Those boys are dangerous, especially the ageless wonder that they got from Buffalo. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name right now, but they can get to the quarterback, man. He turned the clock back, and he's getting to the quarterback. And so, again, I can't stress it enough. We gotta protect, because their record says that they're 1-7-1, but their play on the field says that they're dangerous. And if you get caught slipping and tripping, they can make it 2 on your ass. And we're not above anything. Again, for the longest time, the Lions had 1 win this season. That shit was against us. Don't ever forget that. Now they've won 2 in a row. And so now you're no longer in a club by yourself that you don't want to be a part of. But there was a stretch there where the Lions had only won 1 game, and we were it. So don't think we're above allowing a team that doesn't have very many wins to get 1 up off us. I've said this before. I'll say it again. We're food on everybody's schedule. Every time someone sees the Washington Commanders coming, they see food. They are prepared to eat. They're setting up forks and knives and spoons. They're setting up their napkin nice and neat, tucking it inside their shirt. They're preparing to feast. It's time that we start eating, man. It's time that we start eating against teams that we're supposed to eat against, like these Texans. All right. Let's see. All right. Got a super chat here from Mike Stevenson II. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, "Hi, Big Lou." Rolls eyes. What's up, Mike? Glad you could join us. I appreciate that. All right. King of the North, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. King of the North. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, "Every time we think we've established an identity as a good running team, we come out the next game with a putrid, bland rushing attack. That can't happen this week." I don't think we will ever run the football. Okay, I shouldn't say ever. I don't think we're going to run the football 49 times in another game this season. That was extreme. Okay. I do think, however, there will be some games where we'll approach 40, if things go the way you want them to. But this is the thing. Our rushing attack, and I said this, if you're an MOBB member, please check out the film, because I think I spent a lot of time talking about the run game and its effectiveness and when we are at our best. And there were great examples in this particular game of that, and I pointed them out. And you see it. I think they figured that out, though, because there are more of those types of runs than they're not, right? So I think they figured out what we're best at, what is necessary for the rushing attack to have success. But even in saying that, Curtis Samuel is a must. He should have 4 carries, a bare minimum of 4 carries every game. No excuses, no equivocations. And there's times where I still don't think Scott Turner understands. Hey, don't forget about 10. He could have 10 catches. I still want him to have 4 carries. Just because he's touching it as a receiver doesn't mean you got to minimize his touches as a runner. This isn't the week, as you mentioned, right? We got to find a way to get it done. King of the North, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. King of the North writes, league-wide, the average yards per rush is the highest this year in NFL history. The average yards per pass is the lowest it's been in the Super Bowl era. Run the damn ball ain't boomer mentality anymore. It's innovative. Well, here's the biggest difference. Teams last year started playing the Kansas City Chiefs with 2 high safeties. And they were daring Patrick Mahomes and quarterbacks like him to be patient. We'll give you a light box. We'll give you the numbers. Run the football. I dare you. What you're not going to do is have these explosive plays and kill us quickly. Take us out back, put 2 in our dome, and end us that way. 2 shots to the head. Now you know he did. The worst thing you can do as a defensive coordinator is allow a team a 3-play, 73-yard drive and score a touchdown. Because you didn't allow them to self-destruct. You didn't allow opportunities for your defense to make a play or for them to self-destruct with a penalty or a batted ball or something along those lines that could derail a drive. You didn't allow that to happen. When you get 3 plays and it's 73 yards and a touchdown, it's over just like that. So what teams started doing with Mahomes, and he started to struggle, is that they said, all right, you're going to have to nickel and dime us down the field. Are you patient enough as a quarterback, as a play caller? Are you patient enough to take what we're giving you consistently and put together multiple 12, 13 play drives that eat up 6, 7 minutes of the clock? Are you capable of doing that? Are you capable of audibling out of a pass play and into a run play because the look says you should run the football here? And are you capable and willing to do it over and over again? And last year, Mahomes wasn't. He struggled. And other teams struggled with that. And so it's a copycat league. So monkey see, monkey do. You see teams having success with 2 high safeties, lighter boxes, no 8th defender down in the run game. And if you can stop it with 7, you're going to stop it with 7, but you're just not willing to give up the big play. You're going to have to find some other way. And a lot of teams are doing that. You're seeing there's some coordinators that's to hell with it. This is me. I'm going to always be me. Like Wink Martindale in New York, I'm going to blitz. Wink Martindale's going to blitz. If ands or buts about it. He don't give a shit who the opponent is. He blitzing. Deal with it. Same thing with Tampa Bay and Todd Bowles. He blitzing. Deal with it. All right? He bringing dudes. You're going to have to find a way to force him to not blitz. And that's really hard to do with a dude that lives and dies with blitz. But a lot of coordinators are like, I ain't blitzing because I'm not allowing you, which is Jonathan Gannon is a prime example. I'm not allowing you to have an opportunity for an explosive play because all it takes is for me to send 6 dudes and you to throw a screen behind it, get 1 or 2 blocks, and it's off to the races. I'm not allowing you to do that shit. I'm not giving you one-on-one on the outside with a dynamic receiver so he can cook my corner and all of a sudden it's a 57-yard touchdown. I'm not doing that shit. You're going to get opportunities because you can't play 2 high safeties the entire game. I mean, you can, but it's hard. You're going to have to get out of that at some point. Because you can't keep giving quarterbacks the same looks. You're going to have to switch it up. But what that has effectively done is it's lightened boxes. It's giving teams more opportunities to run the football. And there are more coaches that come from that Shanahan, style of offense, McVay. I mean, that tree just continues to spread and grow every single year, it seems like. You added Kevin O'Connell to the mix this year. You've got O'Connell in Minnesota. You've got, I forgot my man's name in Cleveland. You've got Sean McVay, obviously, in Los Angeles. You've got Matt LaFleur in Kevin Stefanski is the coach in Cleveland. You got Matt LaFleur in Green Bay, right? These are all guys. Kyle Shanahan, obviously, that's kind of where it starts. But you got all of these dudes who, in every year, seems like it's another Shanahan disciple getting a job. Zach Taylor is another one of those type dudes too, even though he's a little bit further removed, but still another one of those dudes that they want to run the football, right? Everything they do is predicated on running the football and then play action faking off of that. Run heavy, zone run block schemes with play action fake being a big emphasis. So the more those coaches that are in the league, that's six. That's essentially a fifth of the league right there, right? Coaches that want to run the football, that are going to go out of their way to run. The Titans, that's all they can do. So that's another team that's going to give you a heavy dose of the run. The Ravens are a big-time run team because of their quarterback and what he brings to the table, right? So look at all of the teams that run the football. Then there are teams that don't, like the Bills don't run the football. They just don't. But the Packers have morphed from Aaron Rodgers throwing it 35 times to, hey, we trying to hand this bitch off to Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon 37 times and have Aaron Rodgers only throw it 23 times. It doesn't usually work for them because Rodgers finds himself having to throw it a little bit more. But they've turned into a run-first team in Green Bay. Same thing in Tampa with the Buccaneers. They went from no risk it, no biscuit under Bruce Arians to now Todd Bowles is a defensive-minded guy. He's not looking to air it out with Tom Brady. Tom, hand that bitch off. Their running back, Rashad White, their rookie out of Arizona State, he had 27 carries on Sunday. 27 carries. Like, and one thing, the misconception with Brady throughout his career is that, oh, Brady's off. There were games where Brady would hand it off 40 times. I remember there was a game where I don't think it was Ben Jarvis Green Ellis. It was some running back. Because I remember he got a big head and Belichick ended up benching him like 2 weeks later because he got, he had 40 carries or whatever, against the Colts, lit him up one night on a Sunday night, and he got big headed and ended up getting benched like 2 weeks later. But Brady will turn around and hand that bitch off if it's working. He don't care about stats. He just want to win. And in Tampa, they're running the football right now. And so there's a lot of teams that are running the football, that are run-first teams. And then with the way teams are playing defense now, you see it, on a weekly basis. The Giants are a heavy run football team because they are trying to protect Daniel Jones and play defense. Like, they're looking to minimize mistakes. The easiest way to do that is to take the air out of the football. The Falcons run the football more than any other team in football. Marcus Mariota has had more games, and I didn't even go to the Bears, right? Like, Justin Fields has rushed for Justin Fields in the last 4 games has the most rush yards of a quarterback in NFL history over a 4-game span. The man has over 600 yards rushing in the last 4 games. So I don't need to tell you what the Bears are doing and what the Falcons are doing. Mariota has had more games this season where he's had less than 15 passing attempts than any other quarterback in the league. Like, how do you even exist in the NFL with a quarterback that isn't throwing it more than 15 times in a game? But that's how many times the Falcons are running the ball. So, I mean, I think it's more of a byproduct of what defenses are doing, but it's also a lot of teams are protecting quarterbacks. I think that's probably more so where this comes from. Falcons are protecting Marcus Mariota. The Giants are protecting Daniel Jones. The Bears are protecting Justin Fields, and Fields really is just turned his legs into a weapon more so than anything else. But I can keep going. The list, it goes on and on. The Titans are protecting their lack of offensive weapons. And I can just keep going with why teams are running the football, because A lot of these teams are running it out of necessity. I don't want my quarterback throwing it 33 times because if I expose him 33 times, we saw what happened with Marcus Mariota on Thursday Night Football last week. When they finally said, all right, Marcus, we need you to throw it. He was doing dumb shit. Shit that I didn't even know Marcus Mariota did. You know what I mean? So I think it's a different time because, trust me, if you got Justin Herbert, to hell with the run. The Chargers don't run the damn ball. To hell with the run. I got Justin Herbert. What do I need to run the football for? You know? The Bills don't run the football. I got Josh Allen. What the hell am I running the football for? It's easy to fall into that trap when you got one of those dudes, but ain't many of those in the league right now. It ain't many of those in the league right now. B Harris 757. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Same thing with the Texans. Speaking of that, the opponent we about to play, why do they run it so much? They're protecting Davis Mills. There's a lot of teams protecting their quarterback. Why do we want to run it as a fan base? Because we want to protect Taylor Heinicke or whoever the hell is that quarterback. Either way, it doesn't matter. They're interchangeable. We want to protect both of them. It's a lot of that going on in the league right now. B Harris 757, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Davis Mills scouting report sounds identical to ODU. It's not that far off. There's a lot of teams who have the same scouting report as Taylor Heinicke. It's a lot, which is the point that I was just making, essentially, that a lot of teams are protecting the quarterbacks. There aren't a lot of these dudes that are absolutely like we're moving further and further away from Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, and that era of quarterbacks where these dudes are capable of shredding you by themselves, beating you mentally at the line of scrimmage and shredding you. And there are a lot less of those dudes and a lot more of these guys that we got to protect. Like the Steelers trying to protect, Kenny Pickett. Because the man has had 2 games where he's thrown 3 or 4 interceptions already this season. So you're like, hey, we got it. Scale Kenny back a bit, man. Let's run this bitch. Kenny doesn't throw 3 today, right? Like, Andy effing Dalton is starting for this New Orleans Saints. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, that's the state of the NFL at the quarterback position. Same thing with the Texans and Davis Mills. Take the ball out of his hands, because if you let him throw it 33 times, he's going to make a mistake. So instead of him throwing it 33 times, let's have him throw it 22 times. But you got to have success running the football. It's a lot of that going on. Even Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, they've been protecting Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco for the last 5 years, 4 or 5 years, however long he's been in San Francisco. He's been winning ball games, but it's not because of Jimmy G. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Red Wings 01. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, so Kendall's in a contract year, and we don't really have any veteran corners. He's playing well, but he's also getting older. Resign or walk? We draft anyway. Is this the contract year for Kendall? I thought Kendall signed a 4-year, $40 million deal when we got him. And Ron got here in 2020. Thought he signed a 4-year, $40 million deal. And I thought William Jackson III signed a 3-year deal the next year, and both of their contracts expired in the same offseason, which is next year. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure Kendall signed a 4-year, $40 million deal. Now, they may be able to get out of the contract without any penalty. There may be an exit ramp, but I think he's got 1 more year on the deal after this season. I could be wrong, and this could be a contract year. You could be right. But anyway, we're drafting a corner, like you said. Anyway, you can't go another year and neglect that position. You have to draft a corner. I'm not saying it's going to be in the first or the second round, but you have to. I mean, Benjamin St. Juste was a 3rd round corner. I'm not saying it has to be in the first or second round, but you have to address the cornerback position in the draft, and I think they will. Kendall's such a smart football player. He's getting older, but how old is Kendall Fuller? He's got to be pushing 30, man. Got to be pushing 30. Let's see how old. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Kendall is turning 30 in May. I don't know when his birthday is. I'm going to say he's 29 and he's turning 30 in May. Oh, he's only 27. Kendall Fuller he's a veteran, but he's 27 years old. Got a lot of football left in him. I don't think his contract is up until next year, to be honest with you. I could be wrong about that. But if it is, let's just go with the premise that it's up this season. You're right. And he's a free agent after this year. I think you got to bring him back. But again, these remaining 7 games will help make that decision. It'll be heavy in the decision-making process. It'll factor in and weigh in pretty heavily. But I think Kendall's a guy you want around. But you can't ask me. I'm kind of a Kendall Fuller apologist, like I've said already. So, Chauncey Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Chauncey Davis, OG, triple OG. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, Lou, Hampton Boulevard bully got Norfolk in riot mode. Hey, it's just another week for him to prove that he should be the starter. I saw a tweet from Dick Sherman, and I want to see if I can find it real quick. I don't think I'm going to be able to find it, but maybe I could just go to his Twitter and I'll be able to pull it up. Let me see if I can do it real quick. See if I can find it. And he made a great point. See if I can find it, because he probably be tweeting his ass off. All right, here it is. Dick Sherman said, what would the Commanders' record be if they just stuck with Heinicke to start the season? And I loved it because he didn't just send out the tweet and then not respond. He actually was responding to comments in the comment section of his post. So people responding. And so one of the first comments in the section under the video, the post is 5-4 most likely. He does make terrible reads, but sometimes he makes amazing throws. Then Dick Sherman responds to that by saying, so does the other guy they have started. He just seems to have a better overall chemistry with the team. That much is evident. They fight for him. And then somebody else said this right here, and this is where it gets interesting. He says, the Colts made Carson their scapegoat too, and then they fired their entire staff this season. Easy to see it's more than just the QB. To which Dick Sherman responds, it's more than the QB, but they didn't need to spend money on a QB that is the same level as the QB you have. Could have spent those resources elsewhere. And that, to me, is the big discussion when it comes to a lot of Washington fans. They're not telling you that Taylor Heinicke's the savior or Taylor Heinicke's the answer long term. What they're saying is Carson Wentz doesn't move the needle enough to where you needed to go out and trade for him, give up draft capital, and spend $28 million, having to cut guys like Matt Ioannidis, Landon Collins, and Eric Flowers in the process to bring him on board. Because while he may be an upgrade over Taylor Heinicke, and that's debatable, he ain't a big enough upgrade. He doesn't move the needle enough for you to have wasted those resources that you could have spent making this football team better around Heinicke. So I think that's where the real argument is. And I think everybody is rooting for Heinicke, honestly. There's a small sector of the fan base that doesn't want him to succeed because they're afraid that if there's any type of success, they're going to ignore the quarterback position. I don't think that's going to occur. Unless this dude wins a Super Bowl or he takes us to the NFC Championship game, ain't no way in hell they're going to ignore the quarterback position. They're still going to look to upgrade this position. If it ain't Wentz, got to be somebody. Maybe the guy's already on the roster and it's not Heinicke, but rather Sam Howell, but we don't know that. So, Norfolk is behind them and they want to see him succeed. King of the North, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, King of the North, writes, a legit center fielder like Forrest is a game changer. I take back anything I said about Chris Harris being overrated. Young DBs developing nice. I'm just glad to hear you say that because I brought it up on Rio's stream last night because a lot of people were shitting on Chris Harris, calling him a hype man, that, he isn't a coordinator prospect or anything of the sort because guys aren't developing under him. No one's getting better. And I said, I beg to differ, between Cam Curl, Forrest, and Benjamin St. Juste, we've seen development with young players under the tutelage of Chris Harris. So I think that notion is being put to bed now. But to your point, a legit center fielder, a guy with the kind of movement skills and speed. I pointed that out on the film breakdown. But that play he made for the interception, that shit was crazy. His movements on that play were ridiculous. And the play that he didn't make, that he almost made on the deep ball, they're playing quarters coverage on that play, right? And he's all the way on the opposite side of the field, and he still almost, it's a great throw by Jalen Hurts. He still almost gets there and knocks it away. Just missed it. He was on the opposite side of the field. He wasn't even anywhere close. That was not his responsibility. So he's got legit game-changing ability back there. That's refreshing to see. Martin Matthews, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Double M writes, hey, Lou. What's up, Martin? Says, maybe I'm the only one seeing this, but from the middle to the right of the field, Heinicke is throwing darts. The left side of the field, he throws blips. I hope he's working on that in practice. Well, I've made mention of that already. Anything to his right and really over the middle of the field, he has no issues with. He throws the deep dig well. He threw flat-footed to Curtis Samuel. Yeah, he airmailed the one over the middle of the field to Logan Thomas against the Vikings. But he's made a lot of good throws over the middle of the football field. He has no issues throwing the ball over the middle and to the right. Where he gets himself into trouble is when he's throwing down the field to his left. And so, yeah, I've talked about that. But I think if I'm defending Taylor Heinicke and I'm planning on blitzing him, I'm going to blitz him off his right side, and I'm going to force him to his left because I don't think he can hurt me going to his left. That's just my personal thoughts on him. If he's going to his left, it's to run, not to be a passer. I can't think of many times he scrambled to his left, squared his body, and made a throw. Most of his throws outside of the pocket have come when he's on the move to his right. But that's just me. Let's see. Nick Katz, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Nick writes, you dismissed me in the offseason. Uh-oh. Quarterback competition. Wentz needed an understanding you've got to work for this. No silver spoons in Washington. Heinicke, love you, can't buy. I dismissed you not because I didn't think what you were saying had any merit to it. I dismissed you because I knew there wasn't going to be a quarterback competition. For what? We know what Heinicke is. You brought in Carson Wentz to start, not to be in a quarterback competition. You didn't. I mean, Heinicke even said it himself. They're paying this guy $28 million. You really think there's going to be a competition? Hell no. The minute they traded for Carson Wentz, gave up draft capital, and agreed to eat a $28 million salary hit was the day that any competition at quarterback ended. They were looking to upgrade the quarterback position. If you're upgrading the position, you're not putting a guy in a competition, because if it's an upgrade, then there's no competition to be had. One guy is superior to the other. That was the thinking going into the season. We know that Wentz's upside is greater than that of Heinicke's, but doesn't mean he's the more superior quarterback. But we know the potential for him to be better is greater than anything Heinicke can do. So I dismissed the notion of a competition because there wasn't one to be had. Ron wasn't going to have a competition. We brought Carson Wentz in here to be QB1. So that's why I dismissed it. Chauncey Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Cam Sims, UFA in 23. I would hate to see him go. Cam Sims does a lot of really good things. He's a glue guy. I'd hate to see him go too, but he might be better off. I'll give you a great example of what Cam Sims is to me and what he could be. I look at a guy like Mac Hollins in Oakland or Vegas now, right? And drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles as a core special teamer, and really never got a chance to play receiver for the Eagles. Goes to the Dolphins, still a core special teamer, gets more opportunities as a receiver there, but still really viewed as a special teams guy. Goes to the Vegas Raiders, still a core special teamer, but now he's being given a real opportunity to be a wide receiver, and he's killing it. I see a lot of the same qualities in Cam Sims. If I'm Cam Sims, while Washington may be comfortable, love the environment, love my dogs, got a lot of Alabama players I went to school with here, so I got a lot of really good friends on this roster. From Brian Robinson, who I don't know if they ever overlapped at Bama. He might have been a year or two late, in terms of getting there. But he went to Bama. I'm pretty sure he went back to the campus while they were playing games, and he's seen them and he knows him. Jonathan Allen, he did play with Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne. And all of that is fine and dandy, but at the end of the day, if you want more opportunities, clearly you're not going to get them here in Washington. Your best season in Washington in 2020, you'll never match that in Washington. With Terry being here and Jahan just getting here, Curtis is here, De'Ami Brown is here. There's not going to be enough opportunities for you. If you want a real opportunity to play, you got to go somewhere where there's going to be more opportunities for you. So it'll be interesting to see what he decides. What's most important? Because J.D. McKissick, he decided that the familiarity of Washington and this family environment that we've created was where he wanted to be. That was more important than winning, because if you wanted to win, if all things are equal, and they were, years of the contract, the amount of money, you just go to Buffalo. You just go to Buffalo. But that wasn't what was important to him. What was important was me feeling like I've got a home now. Because when you've been a nomad, and that's what J.D. McKissick was, from Seattle to Detroit and now Washington, when you finally feel like you found a home, you want to stay there. You don't keep moving. You're going to keep taking your family and moving them all around the country. If you got kids, now they got to go to a new school. A lot of times we forget about the human aspect and the family aspect of what these dudes do. We just see them as football players, the machines, robots. They shouldn't have any life outside of football. You should be getting better. Why are you at home playing the game? Because I got a life. This is my free time. I do whatever the hell I want to do with it. These people have families. They got kids that go to school. It's not that dissimilar from being a military family when you a coach or a player in the NFL. You get somewhere for 2-3 years, you get comfortable, and then one day dad comes home and says, hey, we moving to Jacksonville. You get comfortable, you make new friends, you're at school, you're having a great time, you don't want to leave, and then dad comes home one day and says, hey, we moving to Buffalo. Shit's tough. It's tough. So maybe Cam says he just had a daughter, not too long ago. Maybe they've created a home in Washington and he doesn't want to leave. But if he wants more opportunities, I think he's going to have to go elsewhere. I'd hate to lose him because he serves so many different purposes for this roster and his team. Very reliable dude. Red Wing 01, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, you were right. I was wrong. Kendall's contract expires end of next season. Love the young safety trio we assembled. Ron really has a nose for the position. I figured it was a 4-year, $40 million deal. I remember when he signed it, and I thought, because I remember saying that during that offseason, he was the only long-term deal that we gave out. Everybody else was 1 or 2 year deals that offseason in 2020. And I remember saying his deal and William Jackson III's deal expired at the same time. But I think Ron and company do have a bit of a keen eye for the safety position. Really, I think they've got a good understanding of what they want, because Ron, remember, utilized Josh Norman well in Carolina. And I think he said he saw a lot of either was Chris Gamble or Peanut Tillman, one or the other, in Benjamin St. Juste. Long corner that can run. And so he really fell in love with Benjamin St. Juste, and they had a plan for him. So I think they actually have a better eye than we've given them credit for some of these dudes. Now you've seen it with Jamin Davis as well, We'll see. But they seem to have a keen eye specifically at safety, for sure, because they haven't missed yet. So that makes me think maybe there's a chance Percy Butler turns out to be really good. We'll see. We'll see. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny, writes, first of all, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, I buy the Wild Goose jersey and he becomes a ghost. Where is he, Lou? I ain't complaining. Can we please run the rock against Houston this week? ? Well, he wasn't playing all that well. He missed a bunch of tackles. And they decided to go to Danny Johnson. Danny played really well, so it became easier for Rashad Wild Goose to not see the field. So, these things happen in the NFL. He may be back at some point. Don't give up on him, but I'm hoping we don't see him again, to be honest with you. But I wouldn't count on that being the case. We don't have a ton of depth at corner, so he'll probably be back at some point on the field. Can we run it against Houston? I think that has to be the focal point of the offense. I think you have to take advantage. Like, I think where teams go wrong is you're so preoccupied with what you do well and forcing that upon a team. But if a team is great at stopping what you do well, you got to be able to acquiesce, all right, and adjust and say, okay, Buccaneers for years were the number one rush defense in football. So why would you even go into that game trying to run the football? Like, you just hoping they have a bad night or a bad day, and you just come in there and you're just one of the outliers that happens to have a – no. They're giving up 82 yards a game on the ground. Why are you even trying? And they're 21st in pass defense. Just go in there and shred them through the air. Like, don't even waste your time. And that's what a lot of teams would do against Tampa. Like, all right, you get a lead and now you want to run it. You're going to take the air out of the football a little bit. But you ain't going there early in the game trying to establish the run. So Houston struggles to stop the run. Don't try to force the pass game on these boys. If you can run it down their throats, do that. I'm hoping that's what they decide to do. Nick Caps, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat. Nick Caps, who writes, beating the Eagles is the confidence we need. Close game with the Vikings was the start. I think the same team week 1 is now here. 40 burger time, even if impossible BK style, I'll take it. Oh, that's a good one, Nick. I don't know quite yet if the swag they came into the season with is here or it's greater than that. Now, I do think you're on to something with the Vikings game and then the Eagles win. I do think those, and I'm pretty sure Ron has told them, you just played the two best teams in our conference and you should have won both games. I've heard multiple players say that. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think Ron has stressed that to them. Hey, y'all belong here. Don't let the 5-5 fool y'all. If anybody out there thinks that we're not capable, then they're going to be sadly mistaken, and we're going to have to show them. But we're good enough to beat any team in the league. And then you just point to the example of beating an undefeated Philadelphia Eagles team and should have beaten a now 8-1 Minnesota Vikings team. So I think this team now has, and I've told you what winning does. Winning begets confidence. Confidence begets winning, and it's a beautiful, vicious, flavor, delicious cycle, right? We've won 4 out of our last 5 games. Some ugly. This last one was pretty. It doesn't matter how you get it. When you win, it builds confidence. The more you win, the more you expect to win. The more you expect to win, the more confidence you play with. The more confidence you play with, the more you expect to win. You see how that continues to repeat itself? So that loss to Minnesota sucks because it broke a bit of that cycle. But I do think in losing the game the way that we did, having, dominated that game the way that we did for 3 quarters, essentially, I do think this team is starting to believe, why not us? We're good enough. We're smart enough. And damn it, people like us. We'll see. So you saying no matter how it comes, even if it's a BK Impossible 40 burger, it's coming. There ain't no damn Impossible burger either, man. It's on the same grill as the damn Whoppers that they making, man. Don't buy the hype. But that's interesting. I don't know what opponent down the stretch we would be capable of putting 40 on, other than these Texans, and they not even giving up 40. So I don't see that happening. I don't see us putting up a 40 burger on nobody. But I think I said either before or after week 1, hey, we got 6 30 spots in us. Clearly that is not taking place now. But why we can't have 2 or 3 more down the stretch? I'm not saying. I'm just saying. I don't see a 40. I don't see a 40 burger coming for us, though. I hope I'm wrong. All right. So that was the last super. And that is going to bring the show to a close. So Heinicke is on an audition. We'll find out more about Chase Young tomorrow. We'll find more out about Cole Holcomb tomorrow. And I think Chase Young is more along the lines of Friday, because they're going to put him through a real test on the grass surface outside tomorrow or today, if you're on the East Coast. And then they won't really know how his body responds until Friday. And if it responds well, then they're going to do it again on Friday to a lesser degree, but they'll do it again on Friday. And then if he responds well on Saturday, they'll activate him. I think this is the week. But again, it doesn't have to be. Next week, it has to be. It doesn't have to be this week. But I think it will be. But then again, I thought it was going to be last week. So I don't know. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. I thank you guys for joining me. Look forward to chopping it up with you guys in the future. We'll be back tomorrow. We will go behind enemy lines. The Houston Texans, kind of really get to know what's going on with this team, what to expect, and how we need to attack them. I've pretty much laid the foundation there, but we'll delve in a little deeper tomorrow. Thursday night football, have a watchful eye on that, because the Packers, after beating Dallas, all of a sudden they're 4-6. And if they get on their horse, if Rodgers gets hot and they all of a sudden have a little something going, that could be another dangerous team that we have to be concerned with in terms of trying to make the playoffs. We've beaten them, so that gives us the upper hand, but Aaron Rodgers is dangerous, just like Tom Brady is dangerous. So the more of these dangerous quarterbacks we can keep out of the playoffs, the better it is for a team like us that might be rolling into the postseason if we get there with either Taylor Heinicke or Carson Wentz. So I'd much rather go up against Geno Smith. I'd much rather go up against Jalen Hurts. Hell, even Kirk Cousins. I don't want any parts of Brady. I don't want any parts of Rodgers. None of these boys that's heading to Canton. So we'll see. That's going to be an interesting Thursday night game. Packers and Titans. So anyway, I digress. You guys get out of here. I'll see you tomorrow. LouieTeeNetwork podcast episode tomorrow. So we'll be busy tomorrow. If you're a member of the MOBB, be on the lookout for Studs and Duds. You should get that tomorrow as well. And so with that said, you guys have a great night. God bless and good night.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20.